Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Comic Source Comic Boom collaboration. Time for your TC Spotlight for the week of August 26, 2026. Big week this week. 14 DC books.
Crazy.
Yeah, plenty of other big titles out this week as well. I thought it was a pretty solid week. I'd say on average, most books I'd give around like a 6 or a 7, so above average, if average being 5. But only one book really blew me away. And what's so funny, not to, well, I guess I won't give it away. I'll talk about it later because I don't want to give it away. But yeah, one book, which obviously ends up as my book of the week, really kind of surprised me. And I'm sure Rocky knows what it is. But so interesting just how the week unfolded. But also, I want to talk a little bit about Detective Comics and sales numbers too, because I fell down a rabbit hole this last weekend for some various reasons, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, how did you feel like the week was overall, Rocky?
I had a real difficult time choosing my top 5. As I told you before we started this podcast, it was I changed my mind about 3 times. This was so many of these comics I thought were good. Some were better than others. I really enjoyed this week of reading comics, but I thought it was challenging to read my top 5. I can't say there was any one that really stood out spectacularly above the rest, like you. I'm actually curious to know which one stood out more for you. But I did enjoy it. I got some annoyances, nitpicks, but I got to say, this was a week that I really enjoyed reading these comics. I really enjoyed them because I liked the challenge of, boy, there's kind of an excitement factor to being genuinely challenged with a top 5 because there's so many different types of comics this week. It just felt, they all felt different to me for different reasons, and I could like each comic for a different reason. So that's why my top 5 fluctuated so much, because depending on what kind of comic I'm looking for, maybe a darker with darker, or a little bit more comedic, or a little bit more hope-filled, or tension-filled, or parody-like. I mean, there was something in here for everyone this week. So it was a very challenging week to choose my top 5.
Yeah, that's fair. I kind of similar in a way because a lot of these felt interchangeable. But that being said, I did just rank. I try not to change my rankings unless I change them while we're talking, like something you point out or whatever, and I realize I need to kind of massage whatever. But typically, I try to just rank them, whatever my initial ranking is once I've read them all. And I do what I usually do, start, hey, which one would I like to reread the least, and, go from there. And sometimes a number one pick is obvious, and it was for me this week, but that's not always the case. But I did enjoy the week, and I've really been enjoying comics. I mean, I mentioned, I don't really make New Year's resolutions, but I mentioned at the first of the year that my goal was to read 10 comics a day for this year. And I'm probably not even through January. Yes, I've probably read 300 comics this year. So yes, I'm through January, but man, I have not come close to accomplishing that goal, but I really want to. It's a time factor, right? Day job, travel, all that kind of stuff. And that being said, like I did take some time this weekend to spend a little time with family, and it's something I probably need to do more of. But then also, we almost went and saw Spider-Man Brand New Day. Yeah. But
so you're the one that hasn't seen it yet. I was wondering
which everything has been spoiled for me at this point, whatever. But my wife is not, we were trying to decide on a movie to go and see, and there just isn't, like it used to not be so tough to find, and now it feels like, similar to a lot of other things in the current state of the world, everything is like super one way or the other, right? There's nothing kind of in the middle for us to share. She's wanting to go see like these more romance, relationship type movies. I'm wanting to go see action or whatever. And there used to be like a happy medium. Maybe you could go see a comedy or whatever. That's just not the case anymore. So ultimately, based on the price of things, we just decided, no, we're not going to go and see a movie. Instead, we're just going to binge some Reacher, because season 4 came out on Amazon.
It's a good season. I love this season. Yeah. It's good so far.
Well, here's the thing, right? Like, because of my press credentials, I actually get screeners for Reacher. So the first season, I think the first 2 or 3 episodes, whatever they released initially was out, and then we binged it. We're like, oh, this is a great show. we had both listened to Reacher on audiobook, some of them before, so we were familiar with the character. So we ended up when the first 3 episodes came out, I think it was for Amazon season 1, we watched those 3, and then we immediately went to the screeners. Which logging into seeing Amazon screeners, like you have to jump through so many hoops in order to get access, which is fine. They don't want things leaking. So anyway, then year goes by or whatever, second season comes out. As soon as I got the email that we had access to the second one before it was even released, we binged the entire second season in like one day, like one Saturday. We just binged the whole thing. Same thing with season 3. I think took 2 days for season 3. But this time when I got the screeners for season 4, I mentioned it to her, but I was gone. Like all that time. And I was like, I can't believe we haven't watched it yet. So we decided, we're not going to go see a movie. We'll just watch some Reacher. And I think the first 4 episodes were out. And so we binged those 4. And then I had access to the second 4, which aren't out yet. And so, over the last 2 days, we watched those. And you're right. This season, so brutal, like more brutal. But the other interesting aspect, and I'm not spoiling anything here, but my wife and I both felt that this season was a season where the supporting characters had a little more of the spotlight and Reacher had less of the spotlight, which it was fine. I still really, really enjoyed it. But it was just interesting because it felt a little different. Like I feel like past seasons, he was really like the main guy and everybody else felt a little, more of a bit player. And this time it felt a little more equal. So if you're not watching, everybody go and watch it. First 4 episodes are out, and it's also the most brutal and bloody season. Yeah,
but it's well written, like it's well plotted.
It is,
and it's an easy to follow plot. It's not too complicated, but I think it's intelligently written, and so it's
and he's great. Good. His one-liners, he doesn't take crap from anybody. And and the showrunner Nick Santoro is his name. He's written comics before, and I've had the opportunity where I've been reached out from PR people to interview him, but I was like, I'd love to interview him, and then that was kind of right when Reacher was taking off, and so I'm sure he got super busy and whatever. So, but anyway, I say all that to say I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I'm behind on reading comics, but yet I watch the television shows. My confession. Say confession is good for the soul because normally I don't watch television or movies, but I say all that to say, there are a lot of books that I want to read and things I'm getting caught up on. And specifically a book last week that I'll mention because Ghost Machine promoted the heck out of it, and that was Redcoat number 19, which is also in development for film. And that was
hell
a big
of a comic.
twist.
Hell of a comic. Oh, brutal. In the best possible way. But boy, oh boy, what a game changer.
And that's what they were saying. That Ghost Machine was telling everybody, read it. Don't let it be spoiled for you. You've got to read it. And 20 is the aftermath of what happened in 19. And it was a bit of a gut punch. It was a bit of a gut punch in a lot of ways. So, anyway, I'll talk about Detective Comics sales stuff and I'll give some context onto my number 1 book or whatever when we get there. But we'll start off with the first book in our list, which is Batman Bad Seeds Sunset number 1. This is a one-shot that kicks off the Batman Bad Seeds event. It's written by co-writers Matt Fraction and G. Willow Wilson, the writer of the regular Batman series and the writer of the ongoing Poison Ivy series, respectively. We have Giuseppe Camuncoli on layouts, Cliff Rathburn on finishes, Tomeo More on colors, and Clayton Cowell on letters. So I put this at number 11. It wasn't bad, and it's not. This is not kind of an indictment at all on the quality of the story for Bad Seeds, of which we get like the first 2, I think, chapters here. It's more just an indictment on these type of events in general. We have them every so often. I want to say the last one we had was, I wouldn't say Failsafe was an event. So it's probably like the Batman Catwoman Gotham War or whatever it was called, where it crossed over into just the Bat books. It's not necessarily like a line-wide DC crossover. But, one of the things that people don't like about crossovers is how they can be disruptive. Like, and especially if it's an event that just doesn't land. Like what immediately comes to mind most recently would be Night Terrors, right? And you could think back to Future State as well. And Future State was even more disruptive, right? Because all the regular books stopped. They weren't printing it. And a lot of the books in leading up to Future State were canceled, and then after Future State, they started over with some new #1 stuff. And that was a logistic thing based on when 5G was going to happen, when Dan Didio was still at DC and what have you. But going back to Night Terrors, we commented on it, how, like, specifically Jeremy Adams, right? Like, he had his first Green Lantern issue, and then immediately issue 2 and 3 were crossed over with Night Terrors. And Night Terrors crossed over in a lot of other books as well. And I say that just to say how disruptive that it can be. And I think that's what people, first of all, there's event fatigue, because it used to just be during the summer, they'd do one big event. And now it's just one event after the other. Marvel was really bad about it for a while. One event would end and the other one would immediately start, and they'd put out all these one-shots, and everything's crossed over, and they're just trying to get you to buy everything and boost their bottom line and what have you. So at least they've gotten away from that to some extent. But typically there's at least one Batman event every year which crosses over into a lot of the Bat books. But I still feel the event fatigue. I still would rather just be reading, like, if this is a Poison Ivy story and all indications, you can look at the name, Bad Seeds, and all indications are this is driven by Ivy and the choices that she's made. I'd rather just be reading this story in the pages of Poison Ivy, as opposed to spreading it out over everything. Now,
for sure.
You and I, we're fortunate in that, we get these press previews, so we're not having to go out and spend a fortune to read this event. But I do kind of wonder, like, is there enough excitement over Poison Ivy to really have people that are going to go all in on this event? I mean, I have my doubts about that, and I'm not trying to short sell what G. Willow Wilson has done with Poison Ivy. We've been singing the praises of this series for a long, long time.
For sure.
But the thing is, everything that's been good about Poison Ivy, everything that's been great about the Poison Ivy ongoing series, is sort of set aside for the spectacle of this event.
That's exactly it. That's exactly right. Yep.
And all of a sudden, it's all about the sizzle and not the steak.
That's right.
And so I'm not. I already wasn't excited. Like, as soon as Bad Seeds was announced, I was like, oh, this is not the direction that I want them to go in at all. Because I think you have to now, Poison Ivy, as great as it is, it's not a book for everybody. It's a little more cerebral. It's a little more intellectual. And there may be, people that are reading comics for a little more of the popcorn escapism, action, big blockbuster film aspect of comics, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But if you're taking a book like Poison Ivy and a character like Poison Ivy as she exists currently, and in a way you have to take out some of those aspects and bring in a little more of the spectacle. I don't want to say you're dumbing it down, but it's being a little bit reductive, because you need to appeal to a broader audience, right? And it's putting on the back burner what's made the Poison Ivy series really special recently. And so I question this decision, which I'm sure I would be very surprised. I'm not sure. It could be possible, but I would be very surprised if it was G. Willow Wilson that went to DC editorial and said, hey, we should do a Poison Ivy event. Usually when these type of events happen, it's the character, and this is the same thing that happened with Chip Zdarsky in the Bat-Cat War, right? He pitched to his editor what was coming up, hey, here's what's coming up in my book. And the editor goes, oh, we should cross that over with Catwoman. We should turn this into an event, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure it was similar. My guess is it's similar to G. Willow Wilson going, oh, she's the mayor, and, here's what's going on or whatever. And DC editor, oh, well, it's been a while since we've had a Batman event. This will be great. We'll cross it over. I mean, look at the checklist. It's on the screen. Look at all these books. Yeah. If you want to get the whole story that you have to read.
Insane.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm going to read it. I don't think it's terrible. There are some aspects of it that are interesting, but if I had one word to describe it after reading the first 2 chapters, I would say overwrought.
For sure.
It's turned up and amplified for reasons that aren't necessary. One of the things about Poison Ivy is the book is subtle in a lot of ways. It's nuanced. This event is not that. I mean, and to be fair, if you're DC Comics and you're trying to put on an event that crosses over with the Bat books, the last thing you want it to be is subtle or nuanced. No, that's not. Yeah. Those words don't go hand in hand with a comic book event, right? Like, you want it to be big and bombastic or whatever. But again, that's my point. It's taking what's been one of my favorite things about Poison Ivy, the subtleness, the nuance, the interpersonal relationships, and it's setting that aside for spectacle and I just think it's a wrong choice. So that's the reason it ranks so low for me, even though, again, it's Matt Fraction, who's Batman, I'm loving. It's G. Willow Wilson, who's Poison Ivy, I'm loving. The art is fine. It's a technically well put together comic. I'm just not interested in this event. I wish it wasn't happening, at least not in this way. So,
wow.
Way long-winded for a book that wasn't in my top 5, but I kind of had to get that off. Had to get that off my chest, Rocky. So,
well, I got to get some stuff off my chest too. What you just said was the height of diplomacy, and I compliment you, my friend. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be less diplomatic. This was dead last for me, and to be what was extremely disappointing for me is for those of us who have been lucky enough to have been part of J. Willow Wilson's 46 issues so far. The 47th issue of Poison Ivy is the prologue into this Bad Seed event. It's what she's done with Poison Ivy has been spectacular. She's brought her. She took her from being basically a psychopathic eco terrorist to somebody who had nuance, who was exploring, being an anti-hero to even a hero. Getting us into her psyche, having sympathy for her, understanding her. She was moving away from Harley, developing relationships with Janet from HR and other people as well. And it was so nuanced and it was complex. And those people who have heard good things about Poison Ivy's run, unfortunately, are going to read this terrible event. And all they're going to see is Poison Ivy the psychopath. What a surprise. Poison Ivy now, the mayor. Poison Ivy being crazy. Poison Ivy making stupid decisions. What's this about a deal? On what basis is Poison Ivy going to give Gotham to the Parliament of the Trees in order to save herself? Where's the backstory for that? This is a 40-page prologue, and it's not explained. It literally is shoehorned in here. One page. All of a sudden, the Parliament of Trees shows in front of in the mayor's office, and she says, "I'm giving Gotham to the Parliament of Trees, a gift in exchange for immunity for the murder of Bog Venus." Now, leading up to the murder of Bog Venus, there was complexity. There's no explanation here as to how she got to that point, how she was a negotiator. She earned the trust of the green, of the gray. She was a negotiator, the mediator between the two. That fell apart through for many reasons outside of her control. And the slow evolution and the journey her almost hero's journey or anti-hero's journey, the arc that she's on, I thought was very well handled by J. Willow Wilson, and I don't feel you can't give that justice here. This entire thing is 40 pages of setup where, do I care about what other members of the Bat family are doing? I don't. This could have been wrapped up. Poison Ivy's journey, if she wants to have a round as the mayor, there's different ways you could have wrapped up this Parliament of Trees storyline. And also, if the goal here is to bring Poison Ivy back into villainy, back into villainhood, this is a high-profile way of doing it, but I think it's a cheat, and it'll get more eyes on Poison Ivy. But I think it comes at a cost that I think it's too high a price to pay. I could be wrong. Maybe this is going to end in an exciting manner, but I don't think it is. I don't think it is. It's watering down too many titles. It's slowing them down. My God, 2 titles in particular. Batman, what is it? Gotham Central. Gotham Central 1 is debuting with the Batman Bad Seeds crossover. You're starting a new series with Gotham Central with a Bad Seeds crossover? What? Why would you want to do that? The first 2 issues of Gotham Central are Gotham Central and Gotham General?
Those are the only 2 issues.
Well, there's Batman Bad Seeds, Gotham Central 1 and Gotham Central 2 and Gotham Central,
right.
Gotham General 1 and Gotham General 2.
Those are both 2-issue long series.
Yeah, well,
those series literally only exist to tie in
because of this.
Yeah, they're not continuing after that. There's not an issue 3 or whatever of either one of them.
Okay, well, okay, fair enough. I stand corrected. I thought those were going to be series, but in any event,
no, but they should be. That's my point. Yeah. Your point is you're 100% right. Like these are the concepts are good, right? Like Gotham Central. Yes, it was always the sales numbers weren't great, but it was critically acclaimed and it was done really well. And Gotham, the hospital one,
Gotham General.
Gotham General.
Yeah.
these are a lot of the same characters we saw Greg Rucka do in one of the anniversary issues. Remember where where Batman's standing in the shadows and then she like sews him up or whatever. It's that. So that like that's got potential, but instead you're going to give it to us as part of this event, and it's going to be, I don't want to use the word tainted, but I'm going to say tainted by this event, instead of just giving us more in Gotham. I mean, this goes to what Christopher Cantwell and I were talking about, because he's the one that's writing the Gotham Central story, right? And one of the books that is coming out of this is the Gangs of Gotham book, which will deal with some of the aftermath of this. And we see Anarchy, who's one of the main characters. Stephanie Brown will be another main character. Go listen to that interview with Cantwell if you didn't listen to it. But one of the things that he stressed when we spoke was how Batman's not going to be really a part of that book at all, and how what a rich setting that Gotham City is, and it's impossible to tell really great, compelling, character-driven stories without Batman set in Gotham City. And that's kind of the point that I'm getting at with Gotham Central and Gotham General. Like these kind of concepts have legs. Everything doesn't always have to have Batman in it all the time. But I feel like I'm sort of old man yelling at clouds.
Yeah, well, we are.
Two
old men yelling at clouds.
It's really hard to convince the powers that be over at DC that that's the case when they've got this behemoth, this juggernaut that is absolute Batman, that's allowing them to do all sorts of stuff they wouldn't be able to do otherwise, based on the goodwill it's generating, the new readers it's bringing in, the financial boon that it's been for DC. Yeah. And then here's us on the going. Yeah. Batman doesn't, it doesn't need to have Batman in it. And they're going, what the hell are you talking about? We'll put absolute Batman on the cover of every single DC comic.
Well, I just want to say a couple of weeks back, relating to the plot line of Batman Bad Seeds, I think that the plot line is very derivative and blah, whatever. So basically, Gotham's taken over by plants. No, it's the Parliament of trees. Nobody cares. The bottom line is, what would really pull people in is going to be, and we talked about it, you and I. We made a prediction, or maybe at least I did, that this is issue 50 of Poison Ivy should be the Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy getting back together. Well, at the end of Harley Quinn this week, which we will review, and Harley gets normal again, and she ends off flying off to, wanting to go to Poison Ivy. And Poison Ivy, of course, is all depressed because her relationship with one of the things that led her down the path to evil again, as mayor of Gotham now, and making these poor decisions, is the fact that Harley Quinn broke up with her. So, the whole character arc that Poison Ivy was on, if Harley was that important in her life, because Poison Ivy was this character that always pushes away people she loves. That was J. Willow Wilson's sort of defining moment for the character, where Janet from HR analyzes Poison Ivy, psychoanalyzes her, and gives her, that's her diagnosis, that you push away people you love, and you pushed away Harley. She's not afraid to pull in Janet from HR close to her, but she'll push away Harley because she loves. And so, Pamela Isley has a way of sabotaging the closeness in her relationships. That type of character arc is what really interests me, and that's really what I'm interested in when I read about Poison Ivy here. Something's going on in Poison Ivy's that's causing her to act this way, and that reunification of Harley coming back into Poison Ivy's life should be a center point of this. But instead, we're going to get this crossover with all these other titles. And let me make a prediction. Batwoman issue 7 is going to be Batwoman fighting a giant plant. Detective Comics 113 is going to be Batman and Green Arrow and Bat Canary fighting giant plants. Catwoman 91 will be Catwoman fighting giant plants. I mean, this, and for I don't know. I hope I'm wrong, but I just get, this is so generic and tropey. I hope that Fraction and J. Willow Wilson maybe had something else in mind here, but I doubt that they're writing all these other titles. And this is supposed to be next level. I mean, I didn't want there to be DC to continue the same type of derivative nonsense that we've gotten in the past, and that has frankly put Marvel in the position they're in 10 times over. But anyways, my rant is over. I can't, I'm still looking forward to collecting the Poison Ivy series. I like the Poison Ivy issue much better this week, the prologue. But I'll stop talking now. I think we both made our points.
Yeah, I mean, it is. So set aside so you have 3 one-shots, right? You have the Sunset, which is this one that starts this event. The book ends with Sunrise, Bad Seed, Sunrise, which is the finale. You also have a one-shot, Streets of Bad Seed, Streets of Gotham, which I'm going to assume, I don't know this, I haven't looked it up, I don't even know if the information's out there. I'm going to assume it's an anthology written by a bunch of people that are getting a chance to prove that they can meet a deadline. A bunch of people that mostly haven't worked a lot in comics. And then you've got the other 2 miniseries that we mentioned, Gotham General, Gotham Central, that are 2 issues each. So you have that, right? So that's 7 issues right there. But then you've got 8 other series, right? You would assume that Batman's going to cross over and Poison Ivy is going to cross over. The interesting one is Detective. Detective has been over on its own, out of continuity. All the stories that have been told in Detective Comics so far during the Tom Taylor run have been set in the past. They've been set in the early in the days of Batman's career. But now Detective Comics is going to line up with current continuity. It's going to cross over into this event that's happening now. So I don't think we're going to see Black Canary and Oliver Queen, because everything we've had before was them in the past.
Yeah,
they're not as far as I know. Black Canary, and we saw this in the recent Christopher Condon run of Black Canary or of Green Arrow, which recently came to an end, is that they're based out in the Seattle area. So I don't think they're in Gotham, but who knows? Maybe they'll show up. It's either here nor there. Yep. But the point being that you've got those 3, right? Can consider Batman and Detective Comics the main Batman titles. And then you've got all these other, that leaves 5 other series, because there's 8 ongoing series that cross into this. Batgirl, which she's back in Gotham, so I guess, right? Cassandra Cain, I guess it makes sense to cross over. Batwoman, which it didn't feel like it was set in Gotham. Maybe it was, maybe it is. I don't know. Catwoman, also back in Gotham. Okay, I guess. Hasn't tied into regular continuity. It's been off doing its own thing, just like Batwoman has, just like Batgirl has. Harley Quinn, yes, in Gotham. Makes sense for that one to cross over into this, especially if Ivy and Harley are trying to find their way back to each other. That one makes sense. But Nightwing, again, not in Gotham, in Bloodhaven, dealing with his own stuff. So I agree with you, Rocky. Like, it's so disruptive to bring in these 5 ongoing titles and disrupt whatever their creative teams have planned to make them tie into this. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And on top of that, a lot of these are 2 issues. They're crossing over into 2 issues of Harley, 2 issues of Nightwing. This is a 10.5 week event. This event, the finale comes out October 28th. Yeah. It is so long to just live within the Bad Seeds. One thing I will say that is a positive, at least DC put it right there in the title. They named the event appropriately Bad. It's just bad.
People have already online, they've already started calling it Batman Bad Reads. I'm not going to go that far, because I think I agree with you that structurally it's sound. It explains enough to get the gist of it, et cetera, et cetera. But as fans of the individual titles, I don't know how we can't just be a little disappointed. But whatever.
Yeah, not surprised at all. That you can always count on the internet, the collective Gestalt mind to come up with a good meme or good nickname or whatever. Yeah, Batman Bad Reads will forever be referred to as that in the annals of comic book history. So anyway, let's move on. Up next, we've got Justice League Unlimited number 22 from writer Mark Waid, Dan Mora, and Fico Ocio.
I should say, did you want to go through the covers or not?
Yeah.
We don't need to. I know there's a lot.
No. Yeah, 100. I always forget. See, good thing you're here to remind me. Yeah. Main cover, which I do think is pretty solid, by Giuseppe Camuncoli, and there are quite a few. There's a Unknown Comics. I guess it's manga inspired. I don't know what the correct term is when you talk about a female, like, anime type style character. But I could see people jumping on that one. It's by Rashida Lynn. But then you've got a Jorge Jimenez Bad Seeds foil variant. You've got a Jeffrey Spokes Glow in the Dark cover. You've got a Marcio Takara cover where, he's the regular artist. The one behind me is the glow in the dark. The one behind Rocky is the main cover. And then Dan Mora's doing the one in the middle there. So there are a number of great covers. The one in the middle right there is the Jorge Jimenez, which there's a foil version of that as well. But yeah, and then that's
that one
Takara. Takara, Marcio Takara. So there's some great covers. I really do like that glow in the dark one. That being said, there's no way I'm spending my hard-earned dollars on this. I'll just admire the covers from afar. And not that I don't want people to be supporting comics, but one thing that I used to do, I don't do it anymore. But when there was a cover that I really liked and it was like a ratio cover and I was like, I'm not going to spend the money on it, I would just save. I would find it online, like a digital picture, photo, and I would just save the image. And then I used to have an iPad over on my shelf that I would put all the covers on the iPad and I would have it do a slideshow. So I would just cycle through all these various covers that I was never going to own. Yeah,
it's a good idea, actually. It's a very good idea.
Yeah, because I got to admit, some of these variant covers are awesome, but it's we talk about it propping up the comic industry, but it's like, especially for Marvel, we talk about the mistakes Marvel's made in recent years. Like Marvel wouldn't even survive if not for the variant covers at this point. So anyway, like I said, let's move on. Up next, the Justice League Unlimited book. As mentioned, issue 22. Mark Waid is the writer, Dan Mora and Fico Ossio on art, Tamara Bonvillain on colors, and Ariana Mayer on letters. So there was an aspect of this that I did enjoy, that I thought was interesting, and I wonder if it's the reason it made it into Rocky's top 5. But for me, this only landed at number 9, but for that one aspect of the story, it probably would have been even lower for me, because it didn't necessarily feel that consequential, except for the one reveal, which we don't even know 100%. It's some characters that are in the issue that have a theory about something, some fallout from the KO tournament. And there are some cool moments as well. Mr. Terrific getting all the powers of the Justice League is a cool moment. And the other cool moment, the other moment I liked a lot, was a quiet moment. And it was Power Girl having a little, it looks like a milkshake. And that moment I love just because she looks gorgeous. What an incredible page that is, with her enjoying a quiet moment from Dan Mora and Fico Ossio. So, look at that, Mr. Terrific having all the powers of the Justice League. Great moment. But anyway, this was in your top 5, so I'm curious as to your thoughts.
Yeah.
There you go. There it is.
Yeah, I wanted to show the Power Girl. It's
sexy. Yeah.
I'm accessing the box a little bit slower today, so the images might pop up a little slower for those watching. But I apologize for that. It's just the workings of the internet. But in any event, the reason why this has made my top 5, and I went back and forth because this was not originally in my top 5, but I think that I think that's what's happening here. There's 2 comics we're going to review this week. That are of I think of particular note. For I theorize an interesting reason. I think that this might be the rumblings of DC's Civil War. Marvel had their Civil War. DC never really had a Civil War. Not really. You could argue that in the Infinite Crisis, when the Trinity never got along, that was a little bit of a Civil War, but it really isn't. What's here is that there's rumblings. I like the fact that it's not just the powers of the world and the world governments that are upset that the Justice League had the audacity to take upon themselves that they're going to give supervillains amnesty, of which they have zero authority to do. So I side with the world police on that. The Justice League are not an authority, but they take it upon themselves. Batman, Wonder Woman, Mr. Terrific, they take it upon themselves to do an amnesty program. Well, I like the fact here in this issue, in addition to watching the heroes battle Despero, and how watching Mr. Terrific obtain the powers of the power bank and then questioning whether or not he should keep the power because he's the only one intelligent enough to use it. I thought that was awesome. But I like that Blue Beetle is getting together a group of Justice Leaguers and saying, hey, I think Batman, I've got reason to believe that maybe Batman, Wonder Woman, etc. have been taken over by Darkseid. And his reasoning is perfectly sound because he's allying, he's giving amnesty to all the supervillains. That sounds like something Darkseid would do, don't you think? I think so. Now, of course, Batman and Lex Luthor, they had a shared vision. And that's their justification to everyone else that basically trust us. Lex Luthor and I had a shared vision. Well, think about this for a second. You got Batman, who's known to be paranoid, who's known to keep files on everyone, how to take down every villain and hero. And then you got Lex Luthor, who obviously, can never be trusted. Arguably the greatest villain on the planet that has created more crisis than the average hero can count. So I can understand that there's a lot, already you see the divisions within the Justice League. You're going to have a secret number of Justice League members where you're not going to know. You're going to pick a side. How many members of Justice League Unlimited are going to side with Blue Beetle? How many of them are going to side with Batman? We already have, now, could this be the beginnings of a Tony Stark versus Captain America sort of thing? I guess, but with clearly different themes. I think it's interesting. It's worth, and I like that the seeds are being planted here for that, because not only are we going to have dissension within the Justice League ranks, that is, I think, legitimately premised on a very sound bit of concern or perhaps paranoia, but you also have the looming threat of Darkseid. Meanwhile, of course, you've got what's going on with Despero, the power bank. I love the theme with Mr. Terrific himself. Asking himself, Mr. Terrific, actually acquiring all this power from the power bank, actually asking himself legitimate questions like, hey, not only am I super intelligent, I'm the fourth smartest man on the planet, but with this power, I might even smarter. Maybe it's best that I keep this power. And now he's probably going to give it up. But I like the fact that, Mark Waid is exploring the flaws of Mr. Terrific. They're heroes. It doesn't mean that they don't question themselves from time to time. In any event, this issue I thought had a lot. You mentioned the Power Girl moment. There's also a Kendra Saunders moment with the Mr. Terrific moment, and then of course with the whole, I think what I'm calling DC's potential civil war coming up. I love this. It's Mark Waid planting seeds again, and I love it. It's something that's going to grow and grow. I say again, if you're not collecting, I think everybody should be collecting Justice League Unlimited, because it's always the background of to larger events that are always happening either now or coming into the future. So that's why I felt compelled to move this into my top 5, because of that potential. Oh, you're on mute, my friend.
Yeah, we said it a lot, that, based on the fact that Mark Waid is the one writing this, it really does kind of tie into the sort of the main plot point that permeates the DC universe. That, of course, being currently the story of Darkseid and, him creating the absolute universe and all that. So it's going to be interesting to see. I don't necessarily see it as a potential civil war. I mean, anything is possible. But if we take what the heroes are saying at face value, it makes sense. And like, hey, we're not going to be able to defeat Darkseid unless we come together, heroes and villains. And they don't want to explain that to the world because they don't want panic. They don't want to say, hey, we won the battle against Darkseid, but we haven't won the war, and have people panic that he's going to return or whatever. But they don't feel like they can defeat him. But you have to admit that this is sort of permeating a lot of different books right now. Like what Aquaman's doing in the pages of Emperor Aquaman is all predicated on the fact that there's this threat coming. What we're seeing in the pages of Justice League is all about, hey, the threat that's coming. And so if it is in fact true, then yeah, it makes sense that the heroes would say, hey, we're going to give amnesty to the villains. Now, I'm not saying that it makes it what they're doing right, but I can understand it, right? But on the other hand, you can see why the world would be like, dude, why should we trust, just based on your word with no explanation, why should we trust you that the best thing to do is to give these villains amnesty? Like, I don't care what the threat is. I really don't. It's never a good idea to give Lex Luthor amnesty. Because he'll turn around and stab you in the back and team up with Darkseid if he thinks that's in his best interest. So, but yeah, there is a lot of potential, and that's what I loved about it. It's why I raised it a little bit in my rankings. Is the potential, and is the idea that it wasn't really on my radar. I wasn't speculating that hey, these guys could be taken over by Darkseid. It's entirely possible. Darkseid could be, sowing chaos and dissent by having done that. We'll have to wait and see. All right, let's move on. Up next, we have Detective Comics number 1012. It's Flight, the finale. Tom Taylor is the writer, Mikal Janin on art and colors, and then we have Wes Abbott on letters. I really enjoyed this. I've been enjoying Tom Taylor's detective run immensely. This came into my top 3. I'm a big fan of the Mikal Janin art, always have been. And so, this was a no-brainer. I love the explanation. I loved the emotion of the story. I loved seeing Green Arrow and Black Canary and Batman early in their careers deciding to honor the legacy of Prion, who would have been the 4th member of their team, Flight Squadron Delta. So the fact that they put on those costumes was really cool and really heartfelt. I just really, really enjoyed this story. I love the whole premise of what Tom Taylor's been doing in Detective, where he's taken these stories of Batman early in his career and tying them back to, even his origin in the case of the first story we got. The second one tied in to decisions Bruce Wayne himself made early on in his career. So these feel very additive to who Batman is. So I am kind of curious what the feel of this book is going to be like when it does cross over with the Bad Seeds event. And then I wonder if when it's done crossing over, is it going to stay in current time and stay a little more closely tied to current DC continuity, or will it go back and be focused on these early stories? I kind of like the idea of it going back. This isn't the first time this is Detective has done this. Like specifically, I think back to the Peter J. Tomasi, Brad Walker run, where those felt timeless and where the stories they were telling feel like they could fit into any era of Batman. Yeah. I like the idea of there being a Batman book for fans that don't want to read everything or aren't familiar with what's going on. They could dive into the main universe Batman, especially Bad Seeds, and be like, what the hell's going on? What, I need to read all this other stuff. What? Just let me read a Batman book that just stands alone, where I just have to buy one book a month, and it could be Detective Comics, and it's self-contained, and I could really enjoy it. So I hope it does go back to that, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But this didn't make your top 5, Rocky, so I'm curious, because you've been enjoying the story.
Oh, yeah, and I've been enjoying this. Like I said, it was a complex level. Well, it's comic books, but it was complex for me. Complex level of decision making on my part, and but this came at number 7 for me. I thought I thought this was a great way to end it. I thought Tom Taylor, this was him at the top of his game. I love this. The moment in particular that I thought was really touching at the end, when then, because one of the odd things that happened in this storyline is that the manner in which Prion died, where Black Canary hit him while they were sparring, and then it was a 1 in a million rare medical condition. It was a 1 in a million hit. She happened to hit him just in the right spot where he died. That seemed a little bit odd, but I suppose we'll buy it. But I guess it's revealed, and it makes complete sense that it was very likely his daughter that gave him the death touch, or his own mother. That's what they discovered. But Black Canary, Green Arrow, Batman, Black Canary, they're choosing to keep the secret, not reveal to the daughter or the mother that, in fact, one of them likely was the one that killed him, because they want to protect them, and there's no need for them to know, because Prion died a hero. But it was just a way of showing, elevating the heroism of the 3 main characters here, of Batman, Green Arrow, in particular Black Canary. And I thought this, for Detective Comics is a Batman comic, but the fact that Tom Taylor could interweave, a Green Arrow and Black Canary and have this still feel like a Batman comic, but yet at the same time, this is one of the best Black Canary Green Arrow stories I've ever read too, in memory, quite frankly. It's that good. And the last time I've seen interactions between Black Canary and Green Arrow this good, and part of me can't believe I'm saying this, was that I really enjoyed the interaction in Tom King in the Black Canary Back in Black with some of the history between Black Canary, how Black Canary and Oliver Queen first met. I thought those were some really good characterizations as well. So yeah, but this was really good, and the Mikal Janin art is fantastic. And yeah, it's only because it was a competitive week and never made my top 5.
Yeah, fair enough. And we both missed. We didn't talk about the Justice League covers. We missed it again. There are some fantastic ones. The main cover by Dan Mora is great. Nathan Zerdy has one that's pretty awesome. The one in the middle there is by Karen S. Dorby. The one behind me is Nathan Zerdy. That one that's in the middle is Bruno Redondo, variant with Detective Chimp. That one is Gerald Perel. Which is really great. And the one behind Rocky is the main cover. Then there's also, Stewart fails to save the universe. There's a lot of those variants. That's Serge Acuna, and that one's fantastic as well. Really, really awesome. But I mentioned that I wanted to talk about the sales of Detective Comics when we got to it, because so I was kind of curious, and I don't even remember what it was that sent me down the rabbit hole. Maybe it was just reading this issue of Detective Comics recently where I was like, man, I really, really like Tom Taylor's run. And then thinking back to the Rom V run, which I didn't care for. But, we were pretty critical, especially myself. I think I was even more critical of it than you were because it was very gothic. And one of my main complaints was that not dissimilar to what Tom Taylor's doing, going back and adding things to the origin of Batman, adding things to the early days of Gotham City. But the problem I had that when Rom V did it is it didn't make sense necessarily. Everything that Tom Taylor is adding feels like it makes sense continuity wise. It doesn't disrupt. Whereas some of the things that Rom V was adding was like, well, why haven't we heard this before? Same complaint I have about the Court of Owls. As much as I love that concept and I love the Talons, and I think Scott Snyder is a very talented writer, you can't tell me that the Court of Owls existed for decades and decades throughout the history of Gotham, and Batman never knew about it when he's supposed to be the world's greatest detective. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Yeah. And that was the thing about Rom V's run. But as time has gone on and with some perspective, I can recognize the quality of it and the things that it did do well. Mm. But it sent me down this rabbit hole because we weren't the only ones that disliked that run, that particular run of Detective Comics when Rom V was on it. And he was on it for a little over 2 years. So I was curious. And again, we don't have apples to apples comparisons because we can look most recently with the Tom Taylor run at Piranha bestseller list numbers, which is sell-through numbers. But we don't have those for the majority of the run when Rom V was on Detective. So we have to rely on ICV2 numbers, which aren't as reliable. But that being said, and my theory was that the Rom V run, because I knew the sales on that really dropped off as it went along. And my theory was that the Rom V run was going to be the worst selling run of Detective Comics in recent memory. Mm-hmm. Come to find out, other than the very, very strong numbers for the first issue of Tom Taylor's Batman run, which blew out anything that Rom V had done, the numbers for Tom Taylor and Detective has settled back down to a number that averages lower on the top 400 list than Rom V's run. And I was stunned. To see that. And it's no slight against Rom V. Again, I can look back on that and I can see some of the positives and whatever. And the art was its own kind of thing. It wasn't my style of art, but it suited the style of Gothic operatic storytelling that Rom V wanted to tell. But this feels like, when you read Tom Taylor's Detective run, it feels more like what you would expect a Batman comic to feel like. Yeah. It feels like it's going to appeal to a casual comic fan or a casual Batman fan or just a DC Comics fan more, right? It's not trying to be something it's not. It's not trying to be, overly artistic or it's not trying to explore Batman in a particular tone or realm or feel. So I was just really surprised. Because I think this title is one of the best. It's in the top 5 for me for DC titles, month in and month out, and it's nowhere near being a top 5 DC title in terms of sales. Every absolute title outsells it.
Well, The other thing is Chip Zdarsky's Batman was selling alongside Ram V's Detective. Maybe that has something to do with it.
I don't know.
Because Matt Fraction's Batman's selling alongside Detective. Detective may not. I mean, I will say a lot of people aren't talking about Detective as much as they should, but I also find that people aren't talking a lot about Flash or Green Lantern as much as I thought they would be about Jeremy Adams' run on Green Lantern and even Ryan North on Flash. So it's weird because I'm enjoying it a lot more too, but it's the one thing about sales I've never quite understood. I've always told myself that for myself, Chase, I figure that I often find myself collecting whatever I love seems to have low sales sometimes, but I don't know.
Yeah, Flash generally is outselling Detective. I didn't notice if Green Lantern is. It probably is now based on the Lanterns TV show, or will be. I was just so shocked because we just talked about the fact you throw Batman on something and it just sells, right? But the one thing about Detective Comics, it's the one Batman book that doesn't have Batman in the title. Mm-hmm. They put it up there, Batman in Detective Comics, so that shops, if you're putting everything alphabetically, put it in the B section next to Batman. But traditionally, Detective Comics is just, which it's so strange to me because it's the first book. But if you go back and look at the number of keys in Detective and the number of keys in Batman, there's more keys in Batman. Batman's restarted, been renumbered more times. Batman is the flagship title, even though Detective was first.
I will say this.
Traditionally speaking, Batman has outsold Detective, but it doesn't make sense. They're both really good right now, and you should be reading both.
Yeah, I will say that Detective Comics, it's been solicited now for October. I think the compendium for Ram V's Detective Comics run is going to be in a beautiful hardcover or whatever. So it is like you said, operatic is exactly the way to describe it, and I think that there's an audience for that. And there were elements of that I thought were really, really good. It just dragged on so long, but right in the middle of that run, I was having a pretty good time with it. But after a while, it just dragged on. But it does have, like you said. It's funny how that works. Like I said, trying to understand the market sometimes it's interesting because just when I think I got a handle on what people are going to be interested in, I'm surprised. But we'll see. Yeah,
it's funny too because I'm typically pretty on with these things, right? Like if anybody out there who watches Comic Source Weekly, I try to predict what's going to be in the top 10 the next week, right? Like I call it what hit. What do I think the big books are for the week? And if I go back and look at the books from August 12th, I predicted 8 books. I said, I think these 8 books will be in the top 10. I was 8 for 8. Every single one of those books was in the top 10. And some of them are no-brainers, right? Like, oh, yeah, Absolute Batman is going to be the number 1 title. This week I'm predicting Absolute Green Arrow. This is not rocket science here, But when I'm predicting Hello Kitty, and people are like, wait, what? And yeah, Hello Kitty came in at number 9. So I feel like I know what I'm talking about. So when I theorize that, and maybe it's just subjective opinion. When I theorize, hey, I think Ram V's run was probably not a good seller, and Tom Taylor should be, or is, and then I went and looked, and the numbers didn't bear that out. It just really surprised me, and I can't believe I forgot this. One last thing on Detective, I mentioned, hey, is it going to go back to early days of Batman's career after these 2 Bad Seeds crossover? And I can't believe that I forgot this, that Tom Taylor told me at San Diego Comic-Con, and now everybody knows because the solicitation has come out. Because I don't even remember. It might have been at the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund party. Where I was talking to him about how much I'm enjoying his run. He's like, oh, wait till you have what's coming up next. He's like, I'll tell you 3 words: Clark Kent murderer. That's what's coming up. That's the story that's coming up in Detective Comics. That's already been solicited. Yeah. The one thing that hasn't been announced is who he killed. And we also know in Matt Fraction's run that Bruce Wayne is getting killed. And some people are postulating, I've seen it theories out there, that Clark Kent is going to be the one that's accused of killing Bruce Wayne. Yeah, which will be fun, right? Now we know Bruce Wayne is not actually dead. It's these assassins that supposedly came into town that killed him that we saw recently in Matt Fraction's Batman run. But are they going to frame Clark Kent? I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. But yes, it's going to be in present day, again, Detective Comics tying into more modern things. So anyway, the covers, the one behind Rocky is the main cover, which is by regular series artist Mikal Janin. Then Bjorn Barnes on the one in the middle A lot of people know his work from, he does a lot of cover work for Spawn. And then we've got Carrie Nord behind me with the Batman, Black Canary, and Green Arrow kind of leaping through the air. There is a Andy Kubert Dark Knight Returns 40th anniversary. And that's Stuart Fails to Save the Universe homage there by Sean Isaacs, which is just fantastic. And then, like I said, there is an Andy Kubert.
Yeah, I don't have that one up there.
40th anniversary variant. So, all right. Up next, we've got Poison Ivy number 47. This is from the aforementioned G. Willow Wilson. Leandro Fernandez handles the art on this issue, Arif Prianto on colors, and Hassan Otsman Elhau on letters. This didn't make my top 5 either. I kind of lumped it in with the Bad Seeds one shot, even though it is significantly better and it's got a lot more context, especially if you've been reading the Poison Ivy series all along. And it is a bit of a prologue for that particular series. But it still doesn't feel as good, I guess is the word that I'll use, as Poison Ivy has felt recently. It feels like it's a little lessened, a little, like to use the phrase I used before, that might not be the best way to put it, but a little dumb. I'll say a little simplified. That's what I'll say. It feels like it's a little simplified as opposed to a typical issue of Poison Ivy. She seems like one of the main things that I've talked about that I've been praising G. Willow Wilson for is the characterization of Ivy. How I talked about how she was such a mustache twirling villain, a two-dimensional character, very cardboard cutout, Batman rogue villain, right? And the elevation that G. Willow Wilson has given her, I've likened to what Alan Moore did for Swamp Thing. But all of a sudden here in this issue, she's back to being that typical eco-terrorist, twirling her mustache, and feeling less complex, less nuanced. So, yeah, all the stuff I said for the one-shot applies to this as well, to a lesser extent, and that's why I ranked it slightly higher at number, where did I put this? Number 11? Number 10. Mm-hmm. Number 10. So, anyway, made your top 5, Rocky, so... or did it?
No, it didn't. It just came in at number... I put it in at number 6 because I think this might be the last... and this probably could have been a little lower, but I still think that it has hope because it's still showing the fall. This is the official fall of Poison Ivy. She's been falling for a while, but now she really does lose everything. She's already lost Harley. Her relationship with Vandal Savage, who was sort of her enforcer in Gotham as mayor, that's gone completely haywire. She's alienated Janet from HR, who was sort of her political advisor, helping her along. The Knights of the Green Order has been taken over by Peter Undine, because Peter Undine loves her, but lots of people love her, and that's the crazy thing. Peter Undine says, "I love you, but you've lost your way." Janet from HR is telling her, "I love you, but you've lost your way." Janet even told her, "Look, I went and I tried to find Harley for you, but unfortunately, Harley's going through something. Harley is still going through her own psychological machinations, dealing with the Harley, the Quinn, whatever the hell that is, that nonsense over in Harley Quinn, which we'll get to that gong show later. But in any event, you can really see how Poison Ivy continues to fall, and that leads her to come up with this brainstorm of an idea. Well, why don't I pit my enemies against each other? So I'll invite in the Parliament of the Trees, because half of the Parliament of the Trees wants me dead because I killed Bog Venus. So why don't I make a deal with them? You don't kill me, Parliament of Trees. You can come in and I'll give you Gotham. And then you can restore Gotham to how it was back in the days of the dinosaurs, or whatever the hell it is. And yeah, really kind of crazy. But it shows, if I'm wondering if, to some extent, is this? I'm curious. Is this genuine? Is her mind being poisoned? Is this going to be misdirection? I don't think it is, but I think this feels a little bit too quick for me. Like she went almost hit hero was more of an anti-hero. Now she's come back, and now she's just kind of gone full-bore psychotic again. And then to expect then we're going to have Harley Quinn try to come to her rescue. Two psychotics coming together. I mean, their relationship was toxic to begin with. I think this is a disaster waiting to happen. But I'm not going to leave out the possibility that it could be a good story, even though I don't like Bad Seeds as an event in terms of concept. I still like the character arc that Poison Ivy's on, and I'm still choosing. J. Willow Wilson has earned my respect over the last 47 issues, and I'm going to stick with her on this to see where Poison Ivy ends up at the end of all this. Sorry, you're on mute.
I keep doing that. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. She's definitely earned the benefit of the doubt. And like I said before, my speculation is that it wasn't like she pitched this event. She's just telling the story she wants to tell, and DC editorial decided, hey, we can make this a bigger event. So yeah, and maybe it'll turn out that I'll enjoy it more than I thought I would. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, as far as covers, main cover there behind Rocky by Jessica Fong. The one behind me is by Nubovich. The one in the middle there by Eom, which is amazing. I don't buy physical copies of Poison Ivy, but I might have to pick that up. That might be my favorite Ivy image because she doesn't look over the top. If you want to talk about putting Poison Ivy in some sort of live action and have her not, look ridiculous like Uma Thurman did, that's the sort of the aesthetic you should strive for, I think.
Yeah.
And then the other one is by Manny Vincent, the other one that you had up. Yeah, that one there. So can't go wrong with any of the Ivy covers this week. They're all gorgeous. All right. Up next, we have Zatanna, issue number 5, What Hides in the Hidden City. Jamal Campbell handles the writing and the art. Colors are by Andrew Dahlhaus. Letters by Ariana Mayer. It is interesting that Andrew Dahlhaus is handling the colors. Usually Jamal Campbell colors himself. I could tell the difference that it wasn't Jamal coloring himself. The colors seemed a little less muted, a little less pastel. I didn't mind it. Andrew Dahlhaus is an extremely talented color artist, but it felt a little more like an animation style, like it looked a little more cartoony, but the art was still really, really fantastic. But just based on the strength of the week, and I don't have a particular affinity for magic stories, this came in at number 13 for me. But again, no slight. I did enjoy it. The art is fantastic, and I am appreciating the expansion that Jamal Campbell is bringing to the supernatural corner of the DC universe. It reminds me in a way of what James Tynion was talking about doing back when he was doing Justice League Dark. We could, as a whole episode, we could dedicate to discussing if that worked or not. But I feel like what Jamal is doing here is very additive. He's laying foundations. He's coming up with great ideas that other creators are going to be able to use. He's doing a fantastic job of putting more toys in the toy box. So I think you said this one was one of your top 5, right, Rocky?
It's in my top 3, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, this was always in my top 5. This never changed, and it continues to do so. In fact, I moved it up. It was originally at 5. I moved it to even higher. It's in my top 3. And that's because you said it's just additive. And I love Jamal Campbell's doing a really good job of making this magical realm, frankly, have some degree of verisimilitude and frankly make a little bit of sense. One thing about magic, and this is true for every story based where there's magic, there's always going to be a little bit of Deus Ex Machina. There's always going to be some of that. It's almost unavoidable. I can imagine it's very challenging for writers to write a tale of magic because really, if you want one magical character to defeat another magical character, all you got to do is make up a spell and say this character's got a new spell and over. But I like the rules. Jamal Campbell is up to the challenge of creating rules and creating realms and rituals. And here we're introduced to the hidden city. We get more of the history of Zatanna, her mother Centella, who was sort of like the leader of this hidden city, which was a city created by Hecate, who was the first prime magus who collected all these people together. And this is basically a hidden city consisting of citizens that are all somewhat magical. And the city's under attack attacked by somewhat unknown forces, nefarious forces, and there's a leadership struggle, and the current leader of one of the current leaders or higher upper magicians of the Hidden City was actually responsible for the death of Cindella, who's Zatanna's mother, and of course Zatanna now, who came to the rescue with Hidden City being under attack. She obviously uses her magic to protect the city, but at the same time, there's only so much she can do. And while at the same time, it's very emotional for her because she has to interact with the person who she blames to be responsible for the death of her mother. And I thought this was really well done. It was not only did we get more of the rich history, and I'll be very blunt. I've got a lot of Zatanna comics, but I don't frankly remember a lot of them. So I'm not going to tell you that all of this is necessarily new. Maybe this is revisit. I don't really care. It feels new to me, and it's easy for me to understand. And I like the story. I feel like I know Zatanna more than I've ever known her before, and that's a high compliment to Jamal Campbell. And the visuals, I mean, she just looks, there's a sexiness to Zatanna and a uniqueness to her visually that makes her more memorable in my eyes. And I really like the story here. I think he really does know where he's going with this character. It's got a direction. And and it really works. And so, I've really been enjoying this. I will say that I kind of agree, like you made a comment about the colors. For some reason, maybe it's just I'll have to look when I get the physical copy. On these digital copies we get, I have a feeling that the colors feel a little bit more muted than they have been in the earlier issues, but maybe I'm just misremembering. But it's still absolutely gorgeous art. The rich backgrounds, the detail is incredible. I think this is one of DC's most underrated comics. This is, in terms of the next level, this is on par. This is my favorite, with Firestorm a close second in terms of the next level comics thus far.
Yeah, I gotta go Firestorm for sure. I don't know what I would put second.
Well, Deathstroke's pretty good, but I'd
probably put Deathstroke second.
Zatanna's she's got the sexy factor, you know.
Yeah, you're a much bigger Zatanna fan than I am, but I will admit that Jamal Campbell is I'm more interested in Zatanna. I think she's more interesting as this prime magus role than she has been in the past. But anyway, main cover that's behind you is by Jamal. The one in the middle there is Bruno Redondo, and then the one behind me is by David Talaski, and that one is by Nimit Malavia, which that's just a gorgeous one in the middle there with all the playing cards. So yeah, can't go wrong with any of the Zatanna covers this week. They're all pretty hot fire. All right, up next, a book that is in my top 5. Absolute. Now that I say that, let me double check. It is not in my top 5.
Oh, really?
Okay, not
That's
in my
interesting.
top 5.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I said it, and then I was like, wait, it's not in my top 5. Yeah. Anyway, Absolute Wonder Woman 23. Kelly Thompson is the writer. Hayden Sherman on art. Jordi Belair on colors. Becca Carey on letters. It was never in my top 5. I just misspoke. Not, again, that I didn't enjoy it. I loved seeing the Absolute Ares talking to Zeus. I loved seeing Wonder Woman with Absolute Wonder Woman with a little more agency than we've seen her in the past. She is singularly focused on finding Barbara Minerva. She doesn't realize that Minerva has chosen to become the cheetah. We get a little more context for Veronica Cale as well. But I did feel like this, as much as it was moving the story forward to the next chapter of Absolute Wonder Woman, that it did feel quite a bit like a setup issue. So I think that's what, for me, knocked it down a little bit. But we'll talk about the covers at the end. But I just want to call out that the main cover by Hayden Sherman, the fact that Wonder Woman, or you could say it either way, Wonder Woman is mirroring Ares, or Ares is mirroring Wonder Woman in terms of the pose. Brilliant composition. It's so good. So good. Anyway, this is in your top 5, Rocky, so take it away.
I thought this was really, really good. This is an issue where we're finally introduced to Ares, the god of war, and it's very interesting. and you'll notice on the cover, I just want to point this out on the cover, or actually the main cover, which is behind me, it shows Ares, and then there's a giant eye behind Ares. That eye is actually Zeus. So Zeus, it's almost like it's like the eye of Sauron on Lord of the Rings. So Zeus is this giant eyeball sort of looking down. And I really like that chosen visual on the part of Hayden Sherman, because he does such a good job rendering that. And I like the portrayal here of Ares. Ares here is a very reluctant, Zeus is calling upon Ares because he's got some plan against Wonder Woman. Now, we don't know what it is. And Ares himself is very reluctant. He doesn't even want to help his father. Ares doesn't want to help him because as Ares sees it, as he says, hey, look, what's happening in the... These are my words, by the way, not Ares, but I'm just giving my own spin on it. Ares' attitude is, look, whatever's happening on the absolute universe here, one absolute Wonder Woman, maybe I'm not her biggest fan, maybe I'm the god of war and she's all love and preachy and everything else. But the fact is that this planet's headed for war. Whatever Wonder Woman's doing is leading the absolute universe to war. Why would I interfere with that? I just want to stay exactly where I am and enjoy the show. And, but for whatever reason, Zeus has some machinations that he wants Ares to partake of. And so he is obviously sending Ares to confront Wonder Woman. Meanwhile, we get Wonder Woman, who finally returns to Earth, returns to the realm of reality, returns to Earth from hell, from the island of hell, where she basically she was sort of plucked away by Hecate while she was being tortured by Veronica Cale. And she's finally returned after 30 days or whatever. And she right away she gets transported back to where she was originally taken in Veronica Cale, wherever that was, Area 41, and she wants to rescue Barbara. She wants to rescue her friend Barbara, who likely has been turned into a cheetah. And I love how kick-ass Wonder Woman is. You could tell she's angry, she's upset, and and she's not afraid to kick some ass and take names, looking for Veronica Cale. When she returns, we get an interaction between Etta Candy and Barbara Gordon of Gotham City. And there's a friendship there, which is very interesting. And so we got an overlap of characters from the Absolute Batman universe to Absolute Wonder Woman. So it's good to see that interaction. We see Wonder Woman confronting Veronica Cale is just such a fantastic interaction. We got some sort of major revelations here and some overlap between, how is the absolute Veronica Cale different than the absolute Veronica Cale from Veronica Cale in the mainstream universe? Well, Wonder Woman discovers that Veronica Cale has suffered greatly because of her own machinations. Veronica Cale, Zatanna cursed Veronica Cale by giving her a cursed black hand. And unfortunately, Veronica Cale's daughter, Isadore, touched her black hand and was basically turned into stone. And Veronica Cale, that's sort of, it's basically, it's something that Wonder Woman discovers this, and Veronica Cale freaks out. She's afraid, Wonder Woman, don't hurt my daughter. Wonder Woman, it's very tragic. She sees a beautiful ballerina, looks like frozen in stone, basically a statue of her daughter. And it's really tragic. So Veronica Cale, it just goes to show how much of how far Veronica Cale's soul is, how rotted her soul is, because she basically, in her machinations to try to blackmail Zatanna, to do her bidding, Zatanna basically curses her with this black hand, and when her daughter was turned to stone, Zatanna told Veronica Cale that, look, I'm not going to, I will help you restore your daughter, but you got to free my father first, the Zatanna. Now, ultimately, Zatanna revealed apparently that she has nothing. She said it backwards, that she has nothing, or I have nothing. So I'm not sure how I don't know how Isadore can be restored to back to life again. That's clearly a future storyline, but I just want to give people a quick background here. In the mainstream universe, Veronica Cale was blackmailed. In the mainstream universe, under Greg Rucka's run, Veronica Cale was blackmailed by by the sons of Ares, Phobos and Deimos. They blackmailed Veronica Cale by cursing her daughter, cursing her daughter and making her faceless and mute, and basically trapping her daughter's soul and caging Veronica Cale's daughter's soul. And they said, you have to help us find Themyscira, because that's where Ares is being held captive. Veronica Cale did that, and ultimately at the end, Veronica Cale, the daughter was freed, but Veronica Cale's daughter is basically has to stay on Paradise Island. She can never leave Paradise Island or she'll become faceless again. In any event, there's a similar curse here, only it's a different type of curse for the Veronica Cale in the Absolute universe. But it's very well done. But before this can all play out, while Veronica Cale and Wonder Woman are having this discussion and Wonder Woman's discovering all this, that's when suddenly Ares and Zeus show up over Gateway City, and Wonder Woman warns Veronica Cale that, hey, now we got bigger problems. And so it's going to be very, very interesting. And I don't think it's a coincidence that we're being introduced to Ares just at the same time where we're being shown the curse that led to Isidore being turned to stone, which is Veronica Cale's daughter. Ares had something to do with the curse of Veronica Cale's daughter in the mainstream universe. Is Ares, is the black hand of Veronica Cale, the origins of which we're unsure of? How did Zatanna, what exactly is the nature of that curse? Is it related to Ares? Will Wonder Woman ultimately be the one that has to sacrifice or give something up to help Veronica Cale's daughter to free her from that curse? We don't know, but I just think that this, once again, is just elevated storytelling. I like that Kelly Thompson continues to push the matter forward, push the envelope on this, and I just love the emotion I'm feeling off Diana. I feel like she cares, but she's also not afraid to be angry and show some anger and some agency. And Veronica Cale I love her. I love the shallowness of her character while at the same time having a very human side regarding her daughter. It's very well done.
Yeah, she's pissed. Wonder Woman is pissed. There's no doubt. All right, main cover by Hayden Sherman. That cover there in the middle is by Terry Dodson. The one behind me is by Steve Scrose, who I actually had on the show recently. That interview will be out Thursday. The one in the middle there is by Francesco Tomaselli. That is one of the retailer variants. There's a couple of retailer variants. Carla Cohn has one. Yvonne Talavera has one.
There's
Tyler,
a bunch.
Tyler Kirkham. Tyler Kirkham has one. You had it up there.
Yeah.
That one there is by Chuma Hill. So not a lot of variant, not like Absolute Batman. That's another. That one's by Alan Qua. So yeah, plenty of variants. Yeah, there's Carla Cohn.
Yeah.
Love that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is an open to order one, actually. That one right there by Yasmin Putri. So plenty of choices to choose from. That's the one by Yvonne Talavera that I mentioned. That's a 616 comic variant. There's 3 different versions of that one. So anyway, plenty of exclusives, retailer variants, but nowhere near as many as we get on an issue of Batman. So, okay. Moving on, we've got Absolute Catwoman number 3. This is from writer Scott Snyder and Che Grayson. Bengel handling the art. Giovanna Nero on colors. Lucas Catoni on letters. This did not enter into my top 5. I think I did enjoy it. I don't know ranking wise, because every week's going to be different based on the other comics that are out that week. But I did enjoy this more than issue 2, but not as much as issue 1. So it came in at number 6 for me. Again, it felt a bit like setup. The thing that I loved about issue 1 was that really stylish feel. And I don't know, maybe it's because Catwoman is acting as part of a team, part of an ensemble in this particular issue, which is fine, with the calicos and whatever. But because of that, it doesn't feel like she has as much agency. I just don't have that feel, that tone that the first issue gave me, which I was really excited for. But that being said, seeing her interact with the Calicos and getting flashbacks into their past capers, as well as seeing all the different technology and resources that the Absolute version of Selena Kyle has, I enjoyed all that. So, again, it came in at number 6, just missed out on the top 5. The art is strong, really great colors. And we'll see if the last 3 issues of this can continue to elevate it, because I feel like issue 2 and issue 3 are chasing that high that I felt with issue 1, but not quite getting there. So, what are your thoughts on it, Rocky?
I got mixed feelings about this. I got some concerns about this series, but I'm still holding out some hope that it's going to continue to elevate. I think the story. I'm going to give the story more time to grow. This issue, it juxtaposes the present with the past. In the past, when Selena Kyle with Harley and Helena Bertinelli, when they were the Calico Girls, they were a group of thieves. They agreed to do to get paid $5 million to basically steal a list from a person's apartment. And the person's apartment belonged to a person by the last name Kane. I'm assuming it was David Kane's apartment, who we know in the mainstream universe to be the father of Cassandra Cain, who is Batgirl. Now, we know that there's an absolute Batgirl, an absolute Cassandra Cain one-shot coming out. We know that Catwoman has already faced off against absolute Cassandra Cain in issue 1 and most of issue 2. And so, and what was this list that they got? Well, it's related to this yarn, which is this technological device that allows them to rewrite the past, the present, and potentially the future. So there's a lot of mystery surrounding that. I love the themes here, and this is where it's very interesting what Scott Snyder's doing here with Shea Grayson, very much distancing themselves. The difference between Selena Kyle and Bruce Wayne in the Absolute Universe is really becoming more and more pronounced. It's very fascinating here that Selena Kyle at one point says that she doesn't want to return to Gotham. She doesn't, because you guys don't know what's back there. She's got very close friends in Gotham, particularly Bruce Wayne, but she doesn't want to go back. It's fascinating that Bruce Wayne and all the rogues, they're friends. Bruce Wayne goes up to become absolute Batman. He wants to protect Gotham. Selena grows up to become Catwoman, absolute Catwoman, and her dream is to get the hell out of Gotham, to never return. She's got a dream of being a billionaire and retire at age 25, and she's almost got that dream fulfilled. But then she's being called back in. She's being pulled back in. In the hero's journey, this is what you would call the call to adventure. Some heroes resist the call. Selena does not want to be pulled back into this. She wants to stay away, but she gets pulled into this because her friends are pulling her back in, and this yarn, and then her connections to Absolute Cassandra Cain are going to be explored in the one shot of Absolute Cassandra Cain that's coming out. So you can really see this is Selena Kyle doesn't want this life. She wanted to be out of this life by the age of 25, but it looks like her adventures are just getting warmed up. So even though I got some concerns about the art, I think I don't like, there are some pages I feel like I'm watching a bunch of 13, 14-year-old girls hop around on the page. That's a stylistic thing with the art. So I kind of wish the art was different. But at the same time, I have to acknowledge that one of the things that makes the Absolute Universe really stand out are the different styles of art. And so it's something that I have no problem. I will get accustomed to because the story here, I think, is developing. And I hope it, and I got to admit, I don't know a lot about Shea Grayson. I don't have a lot of experience with her writing, but I do with Scott Snyder. We all do. And with his guidance on this, I have faith that the story is going to become more complex as we move forward.
You didn't mention Victoria Sage, which
that's right. The question, right?
Yeah, when she first showed up, I think I had wondered out loud if it was the Absolute version of Vicky Vale. And that's not the case. It's basically a mashup of, Victor Sage, who's the original Question, with Renee Montoya, who, took over as the Question later after Vic kind of moved on. So, anyway, as far as covers for Absolute Catwoman, the main cover by Bengel, I think is actually my favorite, but there is an Eom, or actually, the one that's in the middle there is Tirso Khan's, which is a 1 in 25. The one behind me is Chuma Hill. And then there is that is a 616 Mike Mayhew variant. That is a Big Time Collectibles Dexter Soy variant. And then that one is open to order. That's the Eom variant, which probably my favorite. It's a toss up between that and the main cover. And then there's a Mahmoud Azrar open order as well. That's it right there. So yeah, some pretty strong variants. Not a big surprise. I mean, Absolute Catwoman is really sexy, and she's got a fantastic character design. So I think it's kind of easy to make her covers look great. All right, up next we have The Flash number 36. Speed was Power and the Speed was Joy, part 6, written by Ryan North, illustrated by Gavin Guidry. We've got Adriana Lucas on colors, and then Buddy Bedoin on letters. So one thing that's interesting about this book, so I should first of all say it did make my top 5, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, made my top 3 actually. Now part of it may be a little selfish in that we've got Green Arrow channeling me here. One of the reservations that I expressed right away when Wally started doing this, going out and running around and basically big brothering everybody. I mean, that's literally what he's doing. And, I talked about the fact that it feels a little bit cringy in a lot of ways, right? That he's out there doing this. Like you shouldn't be doing this, Wally. It's not a good look. You're trying to prevent everything. I mean, we talked about it during the previous story arc as well, where he was going inside people's houses, even in the bathroom at one point. And yeah, I mean, you're invading people's privacy, and I get that you're doing it for noble reasons, but it's still not a good look. And Oliver Queen calls him on it. And again, we don't know because we haven't gotten to the end of the story, but there's every feel, if you've been a comic book reader for a long time, that this is going to end badly. For Wally. I mean, it just feels too good to be true, right? To be able to prevent every bad thing from happening before it happens. At some point, it's not going to go well. He's going to bite off more than he can chew. The other shoe's going to drop at one point. And yeah, Oliver sees it, and apparently nobody else does. And I love the ending. I love the final page where Ollie brings it to the attention of some other heroes, and they go of all places, they go to the top of Mount Everest because they don't expect Wally to show up randomly there. But he's with Wonder Woman, he's with Aquaman, he's with Martian Manhunter, he's with a holographic version of Red Tornado, as well as John Kent, which is really interesting because John sort of already signed off on what Wally was doing, because as you can tell from the cover behind Rocky there, this is the issue where Wally goes to Metropolis and he wants to add Metropolis to the list of cities where he's preventing anything bad from happening, preemptively. It's a noble idea, but it's not, to me, it's not worth the cost that needs to be paid. It's not worth Wally violating everybody's privacy and what have you. It's sort of along those same lines that better a guilty man go free than an innocent man be condemned. So I love this idea. Like Ryan North, he continues to really impress me with what he's doing with Flash, more so than anything in tone, right? Like it's got a very lighthearted tone, maybe not to the extent that Jeremy Adams' run did, but it's got some really heavy themes and really interesting ideas to explore, which that is a very challenging line to kind of tightrope to walk, where it's entertaining and it feels lighthearted. Gavin Guidry's art is perfectly suited for that. But when you look below the surface, these are really interesting and complex ideas, right? Like I love the last story arc we had where how do you stop people from trying to get influencer clout on social media when, the very act of you rescuing them is what they're chasing, right? Like it's a very complex problem. Really interesting ideas from Ryan North. Very impressed with his ability to come up with some interesting challenges and interesting questions that don't have easy answers. This is not the Silver Age where everything is black and white and it's easy to tell the good guys from the bad guys and what have you. So again, fantastic issue. I'm really enjoying it. Curious as to your thoughts on it, Rocky.
Yeah, This came in at number 11 for me. I thought it was. I guess. I guess it could be maybe interesting to see what the answer is. I don't. I guess I never really saw it. I guess I can see Green Arrow. Seeing fascism in this is kind of a little bit. Silly, but I can understand maybe Green Arrow thinking that, if Flash goes to the extreme and I don't know. I mean, he's doing it to save lives. He's not doing it to manipulate people or control the direction of their life. But maybe it's a slippery slope because he's got the Speed Force, and maybe something's going to happen to realize that, with the butterfly effect. I mean, at some point, is it possible that things could go catastrophically wrong, and that maybe Wally doesn't understand the Speed Force and this power like he thinks he does? Yeah, it's certainly possible. So I get it, and it is an interesting theme, and I agree with you. Ryan North sort of playing with that and saying, just think about this: you are that fast that you can actually run so fast that you can arguably, in a crazy kind of way, see different probabilities and weigh them and determine which one is more likely to occur and change a single variable that would prevent that one variable from happening. That's an incredible power. Now, Flash, the last person to have done something similar to this, I remember that Grant Morrison played with a similar themes during his Flash run, and it's very eclectic. So kudos to Ryan North for doing that. I don't know where Ryan North is going with this. I'm genuinely interested to see how he's going to resolve this. What does Ryan North have to say about the lesson that he wants Wally to learn about this? Because it's interesting because, nobody wants to play God, right? At what point do you play God? If you can rescue 1 million people, okay, that's godlike. But at what point do you cross over into something greater? At what point with great power comes great responsibility? Isn't Wally being responsible? At what point does saving lives become irresponsible? At what point is interference in order to help somebody or save them become irresponsible? So it's a very difficult question to answer if you have the power of the Flash. And so, yeah, it's curious, but there's just, we'll see. It's just too much competition this week.
All right, fair enough. Gavin Guidry on the main cover behind Rocky. The one behind me is by Junie Ba. It's a Flash Fact cover. And then there's also one by Claudio Castellini. That one right there. That is a gorgeous cover. Like, what a quintessential Flash image. Love the colors, love the composition. Really, really fantastic cover. All right, up next we have Green Lantern number 38 from writer Jeremy Adams, art by Hermonico and Simon Kradansky, colors by Romulo Fajardo Jr. and Matt Herms, and then letters are by Dave Sharp. I won't go so far as to say I'm disappointed that we didn't get an all-out brawl between Kyle and was it Major Force?
Yeah.
They have a history, obviously, but come to find out, Major Force is another one of those that has amnesty and is supposedly working with the Justice League to Kyle's chagrin. But this is just a fun issue where the Condiment King shows up. We have this brawl between these different fast food mascots. This is over the top in terms of just being fun and funny. And we also get to see Hal in space with Jana from the Wonder Twins. We get like half of the story for each, half of Hal, half of Kyle. I guess both will be resolved, I'm assuming, the next issue, because both stories, both challenges, both events we're kind of, we can leave it in the middle. But speculator alert, this is the first appearance of Feast, the fast food mascot team, I guess you'd call it. Feast stands for Fellow Eaters Against Syndicated Takeout. So they are mascots of local eateries that are trying to fight back against Big Belly Burger and their mascots who have shown up in LA to open franchises. So it's absurd. The fact that they have an acronym, the fact that the acronym works, the fact that they go by that name, Feast, when they're working for fast food restaurants. It's just all of it over the top, laugh out loud funny. So speculator alert for these the first appearance of these Feast team members that aren't necessarily named, but this is just, again, going back to the idea of Jeremy Adams just doing something fun. Because it does start off on a more serious note, like I mentioned, with Kyle confronting Major Force and wanting to beat the crap out of him. I feel like this is the kind of book that, in a way, is new reader friendly. Yeah, maybe you don't get an explanation of absolutely everything that's going on in terms of, who is Kyle Rayner. Like, I'm just thinking from the perspective of somebody who's watching the Lantern TV shows, right? But Hal does show up here, and he has more time on the page than he has in some recent issues. Gets to have a little bit of time to shine, a little bit of agency. I wonder how much that might be influenced by the Lanterns television show. But this is just a lot of fun, and the art is really strong. And the Green Lantern titles between Jeremy Adams and Morgan Hampton are in really, really good hands right now. I can't remember the last time I was enjoying Green Lantern and the associated Green Lantern books as much as I am currently. So what are your thoughts on this, Rocky?
I can't help. There is fun in this issue, but this feels like fun is a distraction, and I'm wondering why it's a distraction, because I don't know if we need Condiment King when, like, Hal Jordan is going through something. He needs to figure out why he's in the Book of Oa. He needs to figure. There's a lot going on there, and that's kind of a serious storyline. And even with I kind of want. And even Kyle Rayner facing Major Force here. There's some issues here that I think I wish this wasn't quite as jokey and parody as it was. I wish it was a little bit more serious. I think it's time to maybe get on the track of being a little bit more serious. If I'm honest, this was starting to feel a lot of, I really don't want this to turn into a Harley Quinn book. And I don't mind it, I guess. We're getting a lot of serious stuff. We got 2 Green Lantern books. We got Green Lantern Corps. I'm enjoying Green Lantern Corps. It's just more my cup of tea at this point in time. And Jeremy Adams is clearly having a lot of fun here. I really like Condiment King, and then the Food Freaks, and then the Boom and Onion. I'm not like I guess it's kind of funny. The art's fantastic, and I'm really loving Odyssey. And if I didn't know better, I'm picking up. I don't know. Is Odyssey going to end up? I mean, I think that there's an age difference there, but Odyssey and Kyle are getting kind of close. Are Jaden? I'm curious what's going to happen between Jade and Kyle. Are they, they're going to grow more distant? This so-called, like I talked before about this dissension between the ranks. Jade might be in favor of the amnesty. Maybe Kyle's not in favor of the amnesty. That, with the Justice Leaguers taking sides on that whole issue. This could be a beginning of dissension there. Maybe you got to pick a side if you're a member, because if you're a superhero on this planet, you're probably a member of the Justice League Unlimited. Whose side are you on? I'm wondering if maybe the little seedlings are being planted about dissensions like that. And I like that. I like that. And Jeremy Adams is a master at picking up other threads and putting them in his story. I don't know. Sometimes I just can't be happy. I wanted more fun, and Jeremy Adams said, okay, you got more fun. We got plenty of fun here. But now it's like I'm thinking, well, maybe it's too much fun, because I see some of these more serious elements, and I want a little bit more of that. But maybe if they gave Jeremy Adams more to write, I'd be happier, so he could, explore more of these elements. But I just wish there was a little bit more, less silliness in this issue. But it's still good, and the art's excellent, and I'm sure at some point I want to see more movement on the Hal storyline at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I want to know what's going on with Hal for sure. It might just be a timing thing where Jeremy just has a little more runway waiting for the other things to align, either editorially or maybe with Morgan's book, where just can't. This is not the right time or whatever, but I don't know. I'm really enjoying this in terms of, I loved seeing the Condiment King. I loved seeing these new characters.
Feast.
I loved
Beware the power of Feast.
Yeah, I thought it was. Again, I just thought it was fantastic. So
yeah.
All right. In terms of covered, not a lot. That one there, Odyssey, cover is by Jessica Luna, and then Mark Aspinall handles the variant that's behind me, and then the main cover is by Eddie Barrows. All right, up next we have Superman, Father of Tomorrow, issue number 4 from writer Kenny Porter. Art is by Danny Earls, colors by Nick Filardi, letters by Lucas Catoni. This continues to be a really, really fun story. The last thing I had on my bingo card for this year was some version of Lex Luthor that would be considered a wizard. Hex Luthor, he calls himself. Yeah. What an
awesome.
incredible, just an incredible design from character design from Danny Earls. Just absolutely gorgeous. So I'm a big fan of this. That being said, it didn't make my top 5 just based on the strengths of the week. Came in at number 12 for me, but I am very much enjoying it. I love the idea of Jor-El being the one to survive, and a lot, again, similar to what I was saying about Green Arrow and his reservations about what Wally's doing. Similar to what I voiced about what Jor-El is doing early on in this issue, in terms of, hey, what gives you the right, alien, to come in here and dictate all these terms? I mean, you maybe have a right. You could make the argument to have a say in how your technology is being used, but who said that you should have exposed Earth to the technology in the first place? Now, I wouldn't go so far as to say I agree with General Lane. He's making a lot of those same arguments, but he's taking it way too far. These should be discussions. These shouldn't be physical attacks on Jor-El, who's just trying to prevent the tragedy that he saw in Krypton from happening on Earth. So continue to enjoy this. I can't wait to see where it goes, especially with Hex Luthor. I just love the idea of, hey, here's a character who couldn't get the answers or couldn't accomplish the goals that he wanted through science, which is kind of the superpower of Luthor in a lot of ways, in just about every iteration. And so he turns to magic. Like, I just love that idea. That's just so inspired. So anyway, what are your thoughts on it?
My favorite moment I have up on the screen here is where Lex Luthor, he basically he incapacitates, defeats Dr. Fate, and basically tells, but he rips the helmet off of Kent Nelson, but then he knows that he can't wear the helmet, because if he does, even if he's not wearing the helmet, Kent Nelson can control it, unless it's in a different form. So he changes the helmet into a sword, and that he can control. I thought that was interesting on the part of Kenny Porter. Kenny Porter's the writer. Kenny Porter, he's having a lot of fun here, and the first issue was something where I was a little concerned, and but ever since that, from issue 2 forward, he's continued to be creative. Like, he's elevated his game. The storytelling gets better and better, and he's swinging for the fences. I just don't see these plot misdirections coming at me. The direction that this plot went, I just never saw coming. And the art's been fantastic. I love the different teams that he has Jor-El go up against. I love the themes. You mentioned the theme. There's legitimate criticism that can be had against Jor-El. And so not only did Jor-El come to Earth here, and he's decided, at first he didn't want to provide his technology, but then he decided to do so. But arguably he's done a great deal of harm by, if you know that the people you're trying to help are going to use your technology as weaponry, and that results in death, and there's nothing much you can do about it, even if you have superpowers, well, at some point you might want to rethink your approach. But Jor-El is steadfast on not rethinking his approach, and his stubbornness is, there's hints that the death of Krypton, that perhaps Jor-El was he never said that, but there's some secret that Jor-El hasn't revealed even to Martha. Martha doesn't call him Jor-El, she calls him Jordan. That's his human name. That what did Jor-El have something to do with the destruction of Krypton? Did he have something to do? He seems to blame himself for the death of his wife and son, Laura and young Kal-El. And I wonder if the themes here go beyond simply whether or not to help a primitive, technologically less advanced race. I wonder if there's more to it than just that. But in any event, adding Hex Luthor to this is really just a very clever and very interesting plot device to sort of explore these themes even more, because Hex, Lex wants to have all the power himself. Of course, he feels that he can make better decisions than Jor-El does, but in a very real way, how much difference is there between Hex Luthor and Jor-El? Hex is maybe more obviously malevolent, but if the end game for Hex might be the same end game as Jor-El, whether you're a benevolent dictator at some point, Jor-El, even though he's benevolent, if you're the one always introducing the technology, if you're the one that's deciding when humanity advances, if you're the only one that gets to make that call, and you're the only one that's making those inventions that put humanity forward, are you not in fact a god? And so it's very interesting. It's a very interesting theme. It's going to be interesting to see what answers Kenny Porter has for us in this story.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a lot of questions that don't have easy answers, which seems like a theme this week in a lot of the DC books. Yeah. In terms of variant covers for this, I mean, I think the main cover is a really strong one from. We didn't mention the fact that we have an Elseworlds version of Batman that shows up in this as well. He's on the main cover by Danny Earls. Then we have Gabriel Hardman on the cover that's in the middle, and then the one that's behind me is by the legendary Jerry Ordway. So all great covers on that particular issue. All right, up next, a book that's in my top 3. It's Superman 41, Kingdom of Zod, Part 4. For some reason, this is another one of those where we just don't have the credits. I can totally tell which page is the credits page. It's a splash page, double page spread with Superman and Zod both in power suits, and you can tell there's space where the credits can go, but for some reason they're not there. So we know this is written by Joshua Williamson. Eddie Barrows handles the art, pencils, I guess you would say, along with Eber Ferreira on the inks, and then Ulysses Areola on colors. I don't know who does the letters. So I think this was in your top 5 as well. Is that right, Rocky?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, top 3 actually. Yeah.
Yeah, top 3. Okay. Definitely had a surprise in this issue. So take it away.
Like I said, leading into this issue, I mean the whole. I think that Joe Casey's I think it was a 6-issue series. What was it? Oh, it was a 12-issue series, Kneel Before Zod. I don't like where Zod ended up. And, I'm thinking, okay, well, this is Waid DC's attempt to try to, what happened to Zod, trying to restore Zod, General Zod, as some kind of glory. So it's revealed that, following that series with him on this prison ship, he basically has this master plan. He's going to push a kryptonite meteorite toward Earth. He has this master plan. It's going to create a city of kryptonite, Calador, and he's going to eventually be the leader of this kryptonite city, and the kryptonite's eventually he's going to synthesize a different type of the kryptonite that's going to kill and wipe out all humans as well as potentially Kryptonians. And this is a part of a master plan, but it doesn't quite make a lot of sense. Lois Lane in the previous issues was asking, well, what's your master plan here? You can't kill everyone on the planet, right? You don't want to rule a dead planet, do you? And there was legitimate questions, Zod, what are you actually doing here? You're a conqueror, you want to rule Earth, you want to get revenge on Kal-El. Well, that's fine and dandy, but that's all maniacal. Like, what's the master plan here? Well, in this issue, we get continued action because Superman has shown up after the DC KO event, after being King Omega, and he's gotten rid of all his alpha energy. He's saved all the legions of the future. He's come back to Earth, but he's now weakened by kryptonite. So Superman ends up in a battle suit. He's battling Zod and everything else, and we know that Ursa, General Zod's wife was killed in the battle against the Kuns in the Kneel Before Zod series, and her body is being basically kept in stasis. And essentially in this issue, while Zod is battling Superman and basically burning his eye out, and there's some great epic scenes. I mean, really, like there's a lot of very good action here. Fantastic art. There's even the Supermobile which shows up, which ends up saving Superman from Zod frying the rest of his head. And we have the Eradicatrix basically resurrecting Ursa, and this is the big reveal. And I teased it last week, and spoiler alert, guys. This is a big reveal, and this will set the tone. This is a whopper. This series is called Kingdom of Zod. So you wouldn't have thought Zod would be murdered by his resurrected wife. This is a shock death. This blew me away. This shocked the hell out of me. And this changes the tone for me of the entire series. Because now, okay, this ain't no Kingdom of Zod anymore. Zod now is apparently dead. Now Ursa's essentially taken over. She's fanatical. She's ashamed of Zod because Drew Zod, resurrects his wife, asks her for forgiveness because he failed her. Well, Drew Zod, in her mind, Zod doesn't ask for forgiveness, so she literally kills her husband. Leaving aside the insanity of her actions to do that, it now puts a very different spin on where this series is going forward. Because we know that Zod has in his possession, and now Ursa has in her possession, a time machine. And we know that the time machine is functional. And it's the same time machine that Booster Gold and Martian Manhunter and Supergirl used to rescue Superman out of time. So now if Ursa is in possession of this time machine, what is she going to do with it? Well, there's talk here in this issue of Ursa, talking about, we're never going to be able to, we can't bring Krypton back, and nothing can replace Krypton. And so you're wondering then, then I'm confused. I'm thinking, well, first of all, Zod's plan was kind of crazy. What the hell is Ursa's plan going to be? Like, what the hell's going on? Well, you're going to have to wait till the next chapter to see that. But this issue ends with Supergirl and Superboy, the younger version of Kal-El, on this time machine with Ursula and Supergirl, and they're off to somewhere in the time stream, and we're going to have to wait to the next chapter to find out where. But for those that are careful readers, you might be able to guess. I thought this was excellent. This really pulled me into the series. The last issue, I think, was probably the least exciting chapter yet, but this one really reinvigorated me, brought me right back in again. I'm thinking, where is this going to go? And the next chapter is in the pages of Supergirl, and appropriately so, because it's going to be Supergirl and Ursula. If you read the solicitation from the next issue of Supergirl, it will tell you where they end up, but I'll let people Google that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they say where they're going in this, but yeah, I'll leave it as well. But yeah, I mean, this was unexpected in a way. You'd think, okay, Ursa, she wasn't even aware she's dead. Zod brings her back. Talk about the trauma that he's had from losing his wife or whatever. Yeah, so he chooses to bring her back, and overjoyed to see her and expects a certain reaction, and she reacts, the complete opposite of how you might expect her to react, or certainly how Zod wanted her to react. So
yeah,
I mean, it was just, it was crazy the way that she reacted, and to see her basically kill Zod. I'm assuming he's dead, but it's Zod, so he'll probably come back at some point. But yeah, just the brutality with which it's completely surprised me. I wasn't expecting it at all. And funnily enough, I was reading all the books, and somehow and you even had said when we reviewed these books last week, about the twist and how this particular part 4 really had an important event in it. And I meant to read it that night and I didn't. And then I kind of forgot about it. And then when I was reading the books for the week, I missed this issue. Like I skipped reading it.
Yeah.
And then I went to do my rankings and I'm like, wait, where am I going to put, like, I haven't read Superman yet. Like literally we were getting ready to record and I'm like, I forgot. I forgot to read this. So then I read it and I was, it really took me back. The art is fantastic. That scene and that event really, for me, dominated the issue. But I want to be sure that we're not losing sight of the other stuff. You mentioned, Ursa traveling back and Kara and the young Superboy chasing after her. But what's going on with Steelworks? Like, it's funny because we were criticizing, or I was criticizing the Batman editorial office for doing an in Batman event that feels overwrought, is the way that I put it. 10.5 weeks, 5 issues or 5 series that are just for that, 3 one-shots and 2 series that are just for that, 8 ongoing titles. Like it's a lot. And it feels like a lot of sizzle and not a lot of steak. But in a way I'm being hypocritical, right? Because we're also getting this event. We're getting this Kingdom of Zod event, which, we had the Rise of the Superboys, which was a complete non-event. I don't even know why they bothered to label it. It wasn't anything.
Yeah.
But it didn't tie in, and you didn't need to pick up anything extra to read it or whatever. With this Kingdom of Zod, like if you're only reading Supergirl and you want the full Kingdom of Zod storyline, you need to pick up Superman, you need to pick up Action Comics or whatever. But it's all about execution, right? At the end of the day, we say it all the time. We just want a good story. This is a good story. This is a surprising story that's got characters and story. Superman Unlimited you need to pick up as well. Let me not forget that. But the fact of the matter is you can go and look at the earliest issue of Superman Unlimited. You can look at what Joshua Williamson's been doing in the pages of Superman. You can see the groundwork being laid for this going back months and years even. And so this feels like payoff. Yeah. And the biggest difference is that in terms of tone, this is not any different than what the Superman books have been giving us. And that's where the Batman Bad Reads event feels disconnected. It feels, what's the word? Incongruous, right?
Well, bear in mind too that this Superman event, this Kingdom of Zod event, you got it's like the Triangle era, except you got the Superman symbol with the number, and the action literally continues from number to number. And the different number in that it reminds you of the Triangle era where the action doesn't stop, and it's 9 issues and it doesn't stop, and you have to read every issue and you want to because they're connecting it. Like I say, it's how they're structuring the story. Batman Bad Seeds they're all almost. I'm pretty sure it's going to be self-contained adventures of the individual characters battling some plant life or something. There's not a sense that you need to read every chapter, but yet they you know what I mean? Like it just comes down to the execution because they don't have like with this Superman event. I don't know, like I have to get everyone. I want to because this is something I know there's only 9 issues and it's like, hey, this looks kind of good. I'm enjoying this, but anyways, that's.
Yeah, and the fact that Zod is, you could argue, the Superman villain. I mean, Lex, yes, of course, or whatever, but in terms of, power level, somebody that could take him on, and now he's been taken off the game board by his wife of all people, who has that bloodthirsty. Like, I like the idea of Ursa, like taking matters into her own hands and being like, no, you ever since you came back from the Phantom Zone, you aren't the guy that I remembered. Like, not that he's sympathetic at all, but in a way you kind of feel like, man, Zod, he can't catch a break. Khun's attack his planet. Sun, leaves. Doesn't want anything to do with him. His wife is killed. And then he loses his powers to Lois Lane of all people. Like, what kind of, you just think, randomly some person in the universe or some person on Earth, of the billions of people on Earth, are going to end up with my powers. It happens to be the wife of my, sworn mortal enemy. And then he finds a way to bring his wife back from the dead because he cares about her so much. And her first act is to kill him. This guy can't catch a break, man. But you could also argue, hey, karma, this is what you get for being a piece of crap your whole life. So,
oh, by the way, to avid readers, this was brought to my attention because I did not remember it. But back in Joshua Williamson's Superman run, when Doomsday Time Trapper first appeared, in his first conversation with Superman, he alludes to the events that happen in this issue, and he said, "Oh, that hasn't happened yet, has it?" So this is so that's a callback right there. That's a long time ago. It's like, oh,
yeah, it goes back to what I was saying about the fact that they've been planning this for a long time, and we love that, right? That's one of the things we love about DC, the tight continuity, what have you. So, all right, there's some great covers for this. Main cover is by Guillaume March. The one in the middle there is by Vincenzo Riccardi. The one behind me is by Mike Choi, or Superboy Prime is front and center. The one in the middle there by Christian Ward. There is a Mark Spears collector's card or whatever, and then there's a Jason Badower. Stuart Fails to Save the Universe. That's going to be so hard for me to resist picking that up. I mean, clearly, Crisis on Infinite Earth homage. I haven't watched any of Stuart Fails to Save the Universe. I did get a chance to talk to Ross Bowie. I can't remember his first name. Oh my God, I'm totally drawing a blank on it. I have to look it up now. I want to say David Ross Bowie, the guy that plays Kripke. John Ross Bowie is his name. I got a chance to talk to him about the series. He was on the Comic Source podcast, and got a chance to meet him at San Diego Comic-Con this year. And so I want to watch it, and I will at some point. I just don't have HBO Max, but that would be great to get this signed by the cast, by the guy that plays Stuart, Kevin Sussman, I think is his name. So, anyway, all right, moving on. Up next, we have Harley Quinn, number 65. This is the Hark Knight Returns, Part 6, Hark Nightfall, which is the end of the story. Elliot Kalan is a writer, Carlos Oliveras on art, Marisa Louise on colors, Lucas Catoni on letters. This was okay. It wasn't anything special necessarily. I've been giving Elliot Kalan a lot of credit for the storyline because it felt a little bit inspired. It felt very different than Harley stories that we've had before. But it feels a little bit like he wasn't quite sure how to wrap it all up. So he just ends up merging the two versions of Harley back together for no particular reason. Even Harley comments on it herself when her landlady, Mrs. Grimaldi, asked her, "Oh, how'd you get back together?" She's like, "Oh, we just kind of came back together. Like, I'm not really sure." Yeah, we as readers aren't really sure either. So it felt like this ended with a bit of a whimper. It's still, if you've liked the Elliot Kalan run, you will like this issue. I'm not saying this issue was terrible or whatever. It just, with the quality of the story and the interesting ideas that Kalan has been working with, I guess my expectations crept up a little bit, which usually isn't the case with a Harley Quinn book. So it did feel a little bit disappointing as an ending, but like a lot, I like this monochromatic detective. I like the chicken fingers scenes in this book. Carlos Oliveras he's got an art style that I don't usually enjoy, but as I said, it works for the tone of the story that Kalan is telling. So this I think I ranked this last. Yeah, it came in last for me, but again, it wasn't terrible. Like I mentioned up at the top, I give everything this week an above average grade. So what are your thoughts on it?
It came in. I could say it pretty much tied for last with me with Batman Bad Seeds. It's just, if ever there was, I really think that one of the things that does Poison Ivy a disservice is this present version of Ivy. You had to get Ivy back on the scene in order to shoehorn her in to the Batman Bad Seeds event, because the only one that could arguably bring Poison Ivy back from her insanity is Harley Quinn, which I got to be honest, the way that J. Willow Wilson has developed Poison Ivy, which has been very well, I don't really see, I still have a hard time because Harley Quinn was just never played a major role in the Poison Ivy comic, but J. Willow Wilson, now suddenly Poison Ivy needs Harley's love, and I get it. Not to bring all that up again. It's just this feels like he had to shoehorn this ending. And interestingly enough, the reason, and I didn't. Maybe this was established in an earlier when I never understood. I never understood how this whole Harley or the hard Quinn or the what the hell was she, the hard ass Quinn or
Hark Knight,
yeah. Apparently that was the effect of the Omega tournament, the Alpha energy. That's how it affected Harley. It caused her to split into two. And I still don't understand, was there actually two Harleys or she was just seeing some? Sometimes people could see the Hark Knights. Sometimes they could see the Harleen. Sometimes I don't. This story never, this monochromatic man. I mean, there's interesting ideas here, but I trying to discern between the parody and the nonsense, and now I guess now we have to take Harley seriously because she's now we get serious Harley because she's got to go over to like this whole editorial approach to Harley is such a problem in my eyes. It's why I just can't get into the series. No fault of Elliot Kalan. I mean, his writing is what it is. He's writing a joke of a character, and that's exactly what she's written as. But now in this issue, he's got to end with making her serious again, so she can go and be more serious. Okay, it doesn't work for me, but we have to accept this version of Harley Quinn, whether we like it or not. Despite the fact that now this Harley Quinn is going to be what's going to save Gotham and go bring Poison Ivy on the side of make her sane again. I mean, it's almost kind of laughable and comical when you think about it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, comical, not in a good way necessarily. So, all right, main cover by Ted Brandt and Rose Stein. The one behind me is Terry Dodson. David Nakayama there. You can see the DNA signature with Harley petting one of her dogs. And then Derek Chu on that one. And there is a Daniel Warren Johnson Dark Knight Returns 40th anniversary variant as well. So, yeah, some pretty solid covers that can be had there. All right. Moving on. Next level one shot. Issue number 1, which is a one-shot, as indicated. Jerry Dugan handles the script, Fernando Blanco on art, Jordi Belair on colors, Buddy Bedoin on letters. This ties into Next Level in a lot of ways. And if you're a Deadshot fan, it's a must-read. So I believe this was in your top 5, Rocky?
Yes, it was. It was.
Right, give us your thoughts.
It was in my top 5. And I think that when I commented about Justice League Unlimited issue 22, which I think is the rumblings of a DC Civil War on the Amnesty issue, it might be a mini Civil War. I think this is leading to potentially DC's version of Secret Invasion, which is interesting. So to me, we have Civil War and Secret Invasion colliding here because, here this is Deadshot, and Deadshot is hired by somebody to take out a group of basically terrorists, and it ends up to be far more complex than he realizes. Now, I got to say, most of the issue is just Deadshot narrating. And we get a like a who's who page of who Deadshot is and his background, et cetera, how he was killed and how he was resurrected with Lazarus resin, et cetera, and how he's a former member of the Suicide Squad. We actually know all that. What's interesting here is sometime earlier in the year, he met up with Rick Flag. Rick Flag, of course, he's all concerned. He's concerned. He's not getting any sleep. He's being paranoid. He figured, something is amiss. He's thinking. Rick Flag thinks that people are acting different. They're not acting like themselves. He doesn't understand why. He thinks maybe he's going paranoid. Like, what's going on here? And right away, people are acting different. How are they acting different? And so, but Deadshot has some faith in Rick Flag. They're former teammates of the Suicide Squad, but at the same time, he doesn't trust them. But in any event, he gives him a list of a couple of people, to check on a number of people that because they're not clones, but I guess he's looking for maybe clones of people or what they call drones. So what exactly is going on? Well, he ends up checking out people, and he can somehow see. He's given this vision by Rick Flag where he can see where people maybe are these clones or slash drones versus whether they're legitimate, and so there seems to be maybe some people aren't acting like themselves because they aren't themselves, and then the real big reveal at the end, after a bunch of action and lethal killings, etc., we got Superman, what appears to be the Trinity show up, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, but they're not really Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, and they seem to be infested with a form of Starro, and Starro, so this could be, looks like a new version of Starro, and this might be the beginning of a new Suicide Squad. This is either the beginnings of a new Suicide Squad where Deadshot has been taken over by a new version of what appears to be a Starro. And one has to wonder, are these clones slash drones of the Trinity? They're impersonating Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman. At some point, they're going to have to come out of hiding. At some point, Starros it's usually very easy to spot a Starro because it's obviously the star's right on your face. So if they have a new tactic now of, what's the one thing that's holding a Starro back from success? Well, most of the time it's because it's fairly obvious. When you have a Starro invasion, it's fairly obvious when you have a Starro invasion. They're stuck to your face of any life form. Well, now they've maybe found another way to hide themselves within the bodies of humanity, of human beings, or clones or drones or something. And so could this be like the secret invasion of the DC universe by the Starros? I don't know. It's interesting. To me, this is absolutely next level because this is like, once again, DC wisely planting seeds. We got the amnesty thing going on. DC's what I'm calling the miniature civil war. Now we got this secret invasion of Starros, maybe. And that's in addition to what's going on in the Absolute Universe, in addition to what's going on with Bad Seed, all the other titles. So I'm excited for this. I'm actually curious to see where this is all going to go. And so I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
So I first of all, I love the fact that this is being built off the idea of Cadmus, right? Which, again, go back to Superman, especially the Triangle era when Cadmus was part of the storyline of that. And yeah, they would do clone. They had, that's where Connor Kent came from. The clone that's half Superman, half Lex Luthor DNA. So this is not unprecedented, and creating a Superman clone, but then manipulating him genetically so he has no eyes, because when they kept making Superman clones, but he had eyes, X-ray vision and heat vision, whatever, and it couldn't control him. So they got to make him without eyes. Really, really interesting. So yeah, getting these clones / drones of the Trinity is really, really interesting. So I love going back, and anything that you're pulling back and building on from the Triangle era of Superman, I'm going to be a fan of, because that is such an underrated era of Superman. Also, I'm just a big fan of Deadshot. I love him as a character. I think he's fantastic. And so having him as the POV character, I think is awesome. And I'm a fan of Jerry Dugan, the writer. I think he did a fantastic job. And then we have so many different cameos here, from Cheshire Cat and Proxy to the Doom Patrol, Jonah Hex, like so many hints of characters to come. Because you're not wrong in that this could be some sort of conspiracy type story that's being built on. It's interesting. You said before, and I can't remember what book it was we were talking about earlier in the episode, when you were talking about the paranoia. I think it was in reference to Poison Ivy, worried about people coming after her or whatever. She's falling victim to the paranoia and what have you. And it reminded me of the line here, right, when Rick Flag and Deadshot meet up, and it's that famous line, yeah, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean there aren't really people after you, right? Yeah. And that's exactly what's happening here.
It doesn't mean you're wrong either.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you're wrong. And that's what Deadshot is discovering when he goes to Gotham City and he sees, the weapon that he's able to procure allows him to see the fact that the Starros are inside people. And whether or not he'll be able to break out of the Starro control remains to be seen. But it's clear that these clones of the Trinity have broken out of the control of Cadmus, and they're looking to have their own freedom. And I love the look, how they almost look like zombies in a way. Then their costumes look different or what have you. So yeah, it's clear that these are not the heroes that they look like. They're just clones of them, and what other powers they have remains to be seen. So the other thing that I'm thinking of, we know that there's a Vixen next level coming, and so I love this. Maybe I should have started with this. The whole idea that it was announced recently that we're going to be getting a Vixen series finally from Stephanie Williams. We're going to be getting a Steel series from Morgan Hampton. And that announcement came, and then the solicitations that came out, I think it was the following week, maybe 10 days later, did not contain solicitations for the first issue of Vixen and Man of Steel. All of a sudden, people freaked out all over again, like, oh, where is it? Why aren't they there? I want these creators to take their time. It's been whatever decades that we never got the Vixen series we should have gotten back in the late 70s. I'm perfectly happy to wait a few more months to make sure it's done correctly, as opposed to just, hey, we got to push it out there because DC hasn't had a title with a African American character as the lead character, the title character in X amount of days. I don't care about that. Going back to what we were talking about before, I want it to be a good story. So if they need to take a little extra time, take the time you need to get it right. I would think that anybody who's a fan of these characters or feels that there's a lack of representation for African American characters would want the same thing, right? Would you want them to rush and have the book not have every chance to succeed and get canceled after 6 issues? Is that what you want? Or would you rather have it take 2 or 3 months longer and be sure that it's as good as it can be, and so it has every chance to succeed and last for years? I would think that you would want the second as opposed to the former, right? You'd want the latter instead of the former. So they can take their time. I'm fine with it. But getting back to this, seeing Vixen here, seeing Doom Patrol here, which, we know there's a Doom Patrol series coming as well. The Demon Etrigan is mentioned in this series as well. He's getting an X-level title. This feels to me, you mentioned Secret Invasion. This feels to me like maybe it is laying the groundwork for a crossover, and maybe it will be sort of Secret Invasion-like with these Starros, embedded in different clones or drones of people. But the other thing that it feels like to me is it feels like this is going to be a crossover that specifically pulls together the continuity for a lot of the next level books. So again, we've had 2 different DC events that we've talked about in this episode, Bad Reads and the Kingdom of Zod. We're fans of Kingdom of Zod, not so much with Bad Reads. And as much as we talked so much about both of those and gave our reasons for it, you can really boil it down to one thing. One is a quality story, feels like a quality story, and one doesn't. So while I'm not necessarily a fan for a lot of the reasons I mentioned with Bad Reads, of them
You're calling
doing
it Bad Reads, so
I am. I'm 100%. It's forever Bad Reads. 100% it is. So, as much as I'm a fan of what DC's doing with Next Level, I'm not a fan of them doing events just for the sake of doing events, because it feels like a cash grab, right? Well, I'm only reading Doom Patrol, or I'm only reading Deathstroke, or I'm only reading Firestorm, but DC wants you to have to pick up and try out some of the other Next Level books, so they'll do a crossover. I'm not a fan of them doing it just for the sake of doing it, but it goes back to what I was just saying. If the story is good, if it's Kingdom of Zod like in terms of quality instead of Bad Reads like in quality, then I'm all for it. I'm all for it, even though, I'm not necessarily. So I think there is a Next Level event coming, a Next Level crossover event coming, and I really hope that Jerry Dugan is involved, because again, I'm a fan of him. I like Deadshot as a character, and I like a lot of what's being hinted at here in this one shot. So fantastic job by Fernando Blanco on the art as well, and it feels like it ties into some of the continuity of other Next Level books, more so than the overall continuity of the DCU. All right, in terms of variant covers, Jorge Corona on that one in the middle there. The one behind me is an incentive cover by Mario Fox Facillo. The one behind Rocky is the main cover, which is by Fernando Blanco. That one there is a Mark Spears. There's a foil Virgin variant of that as well. And then there also is a Carmine Di Gian Domenico. Yeah, that's it right there. So I really like the Fox cover, but I'm not paying for a 1 in 25 variant. That will probably be more than $10.
Yeah.
If it's $10 or less, I might pick it up. Sometimes my local comic shop has really good deals on variant covers. So anyway, one last book to talk about in detail. It's The Black Tower, created by Ram V and Mike Perkins. That's how it's credited, with Ram V as the writer, Perkins as the artist. Perkins working with his longtime collaborator on colors, Mike Spicer, and then Anvil Design handling the letters. So this is a Vertigo title announced at New York Comic Con. The Black Tower is basically like this. It feels like MI6, a British clandestine organization, but it feels like the Black Tower specifically works with the supernatural and what have you. I get a little bit of a feel in terms of mystery and being thrown into the deep end of the pool. It reminds me a little bit of Vigil from Ram V, which we got a couple of years ago, because we're not being spoon-fed here. It is the first issue. This is the first appearance of a lot of these characters, but Ram V isn't going, okay, this is so-and-so, and this is their history, this is their backstory, these are their powers, blah, blah, blah. No, we're just thrown into the deep end of the pool, and we're just going to have to kind of pick it up as we go along. Some people don't like that. It can work. And I feel like for the first issue, it does work for the most part, but whether or not ultimately the series is successful is going to depend on how the information is kind of doled out to us and whether it all gels and comes together and works. Sometimes when you do books like this, it ends up being a book where it just reads better in a trade, so you can read it all in one sitting. But being that it's a supernatural book with a little bit of mystery built in, having these characters feel mysterious to begin with works for me anyway. And the Mike Perkins art, as I've come to expect from Mike Perkins, is absolutely gorgeous. These are two creators who collaborated on Swamp Thing not so long ago and knocked it out of the park. And I think this is very worthy of the Vertigo imprint. And it feels maybe more so than any other recent Vertigo title that we've had, like a 90s Vertigo book in the best way. Nice House feels like that as well, but Nice House didn't start out as a Vertigo imprint because Vertigo wasn't back yet. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this, and I would say overall, the quality of the Vertigo books that DC has been bringing back has been really strong. I mean, we talk about things like End of Life or Bleeding Hearts. Like these are really good books. And I'm looking forward to some more of the ones that are coming out, as the one from Cy Springer and Aaron Campbell. I'm really looking forward to. So, and this was one I was looking forward to as well. And it didn't disappoint. But because of so much of the mystery and so many questions being left unanswered, I only ranked it at number 7, but I did really, really enjoy it. And it's got some banger covers as well, which I'll talk about in just a second. But I want to get Rocky's thoughts on this issue first.
Yeah, this reads like a very interesting sort of Twilight Zone combination of Twilight Zone and a good espionage thriller that I could maybe pick up on some great streaming service. It's a lot of fun. The main character is a guy by the name of Daniel Burrows. We have a flashback of him 25 years ago talking to his Indian grandfather, who was basically telling him a story and telling him stories of myth, and then we know that in the future Daniel Burrows is actually tested, and he's determined to be what they call an esper. He's somebody that seems to have some sort of psychic ability. abilities. He's got psychic abilities where he can like kind of tell you if you hide a card from him, he can tell you what's on the card with a high degree of statistical probability. Statistically, he's usually more often he's right, but he's also got uncanny instincts, and he's a very good, and his instincts of just knowing where to look and knowing what things are, knowing the truth of things. I think that's what an Esper is, because he ends up, I think he's some sort of spy. And then there's a scene with him at an airport when he's older. He's sort of recruited, and he has to. We know he's recruited to try to find somebody, and ultimately he ends up where he is at the very beginning of this issue, being interrogated by this horrible looking guy with an eyeball in his hand, asking him just how in the hell did a little lamb from Pennsylvania end up here in a butcher shop so far from home? Well, Daniel Burroughs, that's, he's from Pennsylvania, all right. And he grew up there, and it ends up that the abilities that he has may have been given to him by his grandfather, this Indian grandfather he had. That's hinted at too. So in this first issue, if you have patience with Ram V, because he challenges the reader, like you said, to me this is a combination between the Vigil and Detective Comics. Okay? I hope it goes more the Vigil than Detective Comics, frankly. But if he can ride the balancer, that would be great. More the Vigil, because I think I love the Vigil. I thought it was fantastic. But I really like Mike Perkins' art here. I really like what it's hinting at. This Daniel Burroughs looks like an interesting character. Exactly what are the nature of his abilities? What's the nature of the myth and the metaphysics and the mystical nature of this story? I'm not sure. What is this Raven conspiracy? We still don't really know yet, which is the actual name of the comic book, Black Tower. What's the Black Tower, for that matter? Is that the name of the intelligence agency in question? Not really sure. But in any event, for an opening issue, I thought this was excellent. This is exactly what I want in a Vertigo title for a first issue, because it's whet my appetite. I took my time. I read it. Love the art. I thought it was structured well. It transitioned well. I understood what was going on. Ram V can sometimes have a tendency to dive, right away. I was a little bit worried when right away on the third page, all of a sudden, when the Indian grandfather starts talking about some mythological story, I said, "Oh my God, here we go! 6 pages of Ram V exposition about some mythology." I thought, "Oh, here we go again," right? But he didn't do that. We didn't do that. We didn't get that. He's learned to maybe be a little bit more concise. We get a little bit of that. I'm not going to lie, but not. I think. Ram V, I'm not trying, my apologies to Ram V, but sometimes he can get a little carried away. But I thought there was just enough of that, but not too much. So this felt just right for me. And I hope that continues moving forward.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. Main cover by Mike Perkins, which is just fantastic. I love how the background color is the same color as the guy's glasses. Stefan Sejic on the middle one there. Then the one behind me is by Akko. And then there's a black and white one by Mark Buckingham as well.
Yeah.
That's really fantastic. So, all right. As far as trades, I should say there are a few other single issues. There's Action Comics Facsimile that's out this week. There's Avengers JLA 4 Facsimile as well, with a bunch of different covers. And I think that's it for additional single issues. And then in terms of collections this week, let me get it in front of me. We've got DCKO, the Flash trade paperback. This is collecting Flash 26 through 30, which was co-written by Christopher Cantwell and Mark Waid, that tied into the DCKO event. We've also got DCKO Titans, which reprints the Titans issues that were a tie-in to KO. Titans 28 through 32 and Titans Annual number 1. Green Lantern Volume 6 with this ring, which is collecting issues 28 through 33 of the current Jeremy Adams run. Red Robin Tim Drake is getting a compendium, which is collecting Robin 175 through 183, Red Robin 1 through 26, and a ton of other stuff. It's 1,188 pages for $59.99. Incredible deal if you're a Tim Drake fan. Also, Absolute Martian Manhunter Volume 2, which collects the second half of the series, issues 7 through 12, is available in hardcover or softcover. You get your choice this week. There's a new printing of Batman The Dark Knight Returns, this time in trade paperback. Legendary series from Frank Miller. If you are so inclined, you can pick that up. And then we also have Batman, The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween trade paperback, which has a variety of artists written by Jeff Loeb. It definitely was a tribute to the late, great Tim Sale. So those are the collected editions this week, if you are so inclined to read your comics that way. In terms of rankings, I'm pretty sure that I went first last week, Rocky, so it is your turn. Take it away, my friend.
Okay, coming in number 14, Batman, Bad Seeds, Bad Reads, Sunset. Now coming in number 13, Harley Quinn 65. Number 12, Superman, Father of Time, issue 4. Coming in at number 11, Flash, issue 36. Coming in at number 10, Green Lantern 38. Coming in at number 9, The Black Tower, Raven Conspiracy, number 1. Coming in at number 8, Absolute Catwoman, issue 3. Coming in at number 7, Detective Comics 1112. Coming in at number 6, Poison Ivy 47, which is a prologue to Bad Seeds event. My top 5 are, coming in at number 5, Justice League Unlimited, issue 22, which I think is strong hints of a DC's mini Civil War. Coming in at number 4, Next Level One Shot, issue 1, which I think is a DC's answer to Secret Invasion. And coming in number 3, Zatanna, issue 5. I love what Jamal Campbell's doing, building up the mythology and the history of Zatanna. Coming in at number 2, Superman 41. I love the death of General Zod, the rise of Ursa. But once again, Absolute Wonder Woman, I think, was just fantastic, and it was a no-brainer for me. Again, I loved Absolute Wonder Woman. I like what's happening in the DC universe, but I love Absolute Wonder Woman 23.
Yeah, I thought you were going to go with my pick there for a second. Anyway, freeze it up for me. But anyway, Harley Quinn, 65 at 14. Number 13, Zatanna, number 5. Coming in at number 12, I've got Superman, Father of Tomorrow, number 4. At 11, Batman, Bad Reads, Sunset, number 1. At number 10, Poison Ivy, number 47. Coming in at number 9, I've got Justice League Unlimited, 22. Number 8, Absolute Wonder Woman 23. At number 7, Black Tower, The Raven Conspiracy, number 1. Number 6, Absolute Catwoman, number 3. And my top 5 are number 5, Green Lantern, number 38. Number 4, I've got Next Level One Shot, number 1. Number 3, Flash 36. Number 2, Detective Comics, number 1112. And at number 1, I've got Superman, number 41. Long live the Queen. Ursa took matters into her own hands, and I loved it. I was shocked by that death, which is a good thing for sure. So really interesting this week that we did not have. Oh, I take that back. We both had Next Level One Shot at 4.
Yep.
And we both had Superman, Father of Tomorrow at 12. But we had some really disparate rankings this week. And that's coming on the heels. I think it was last week or the week before where we had almost every book
the same, yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Which I love. I love that we have. So, you've got Absolute Wonder Woman at number 1. I've got it at number 8. So that's a 7 gap there. But we've got an even bigger gap on Zatanna. You've got it at 3 and I've got it at 13.
Yeah.
That's a 10. That's a 10 gap there. So it's really interesting.
Well, maybe it's the booty. I always thought maybe I was a breast man, but it's Jamal Campbell. It's that booty thing going on. Yeah. I thought between that and Power Girl, that would be a tough choice. That would be, that would be Sophie's choice right there. I tell you what, I don't know.
We've got Flash, 8, Flash is 8 apart. Green Lantern 5 apart. Yeah, we are very, very, very disparate this week. That's really interesting to me. So, anyway, if y'all are going to New York Comic Con, I got my press badge this week. I still don't know for sure if I'm going. I haven't gotten the time off work yet, but if I am going, I got my press badge, so that's good. But anyway, appreciate everybody joining as always. Don't forget, if you're listening audio only, the Comic Source podcast is available on all audio platforms, whatever podcasting platform or app you prefer. It's available with thousands of past episodes to go and listen to. But if you have discovered us audio only, This DC Spotlight comes out every week on Rocky's channel on YouTube. Comic Space Boom, ! You can see our smiling faces. You can see the covers. You can see some pages from the book as we talk about them. So if that's your preference to go and listen as well as watch, that's where you can find us. Once you're there, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe. Leave some comments below. Let us know what you thought of the books this week. As long as you're at YouTube, might as well head over to the Comic Source channel and subscribe there as well. It's where all the other interviews come out. A lot of the other coverage and what have you. I mentioned an interview with Steve Scrose, which will be coming out later this week. And I've got another creator-owned interview that's going to be out this week as well. So look for that. Comic Source weekly T-shirts are still available. I haven't put in my order. I'm going to put it in the first week of September. They're $10 plus whatever shipping. So if you want to, just go to my link tree, reach out any number of ways. Let me know your size and your address, and I'll get you the cost of what the actual shipping will be. Again, everybody that reaches out, I'll be following up with you all the first week of September to let you know the total cost, and then you can Venmo me or PayPal me or whatever you want to do, and I'll put in the order and get the shirts shipped out as soon as I get them. So anyway, appreciate the support as always, everybody, and we will talk to you next time.
Catch you later.